Live from the Pacific Ocean off Newport Beach, California. Welcome to the 2025 Rose Cup, emblematic of the United States Youth Match Racing Championship. We're already in full motion here with preliminary flights leading up to the finals here in about an hour or so, but here we go. We're in the semifinals. Dylan C. against James Pine, Sienna Nichols against Harrison Strom. And that is Dylan C. up 2-1. Dylan from the Newport Harbor Yacht Club, and Sienna Nichols up 2-1 in her semifinal over Harrison Strom. James Pine from the South Carolina Yacht Club, Harrison Strom from the San Diego Yacht Club. This is Tom Eamon alongside Andy Rose and Matt Whitfield from the UK. Andy Rose, of course, multiple Gov Cup winner, Congressional Cup winner, America's Cup tactician. And Matt Winfield, a multiple national championship in match racing in the UK. Welcome, gentlemen. Andy, take us from here.
Well, this is pretty amazing. You know, the weather here has really performed. Whoever the weather chairman was really good. But we have the marine layer, as we've talked about, the gray layer of low clouds that comes out in the morning has burned off very early. I think we're going to have a great day of sailing. We probably have about 6 or 7 knots right now, and it'll increase from there. And we have some great semifinals. You know, Sienna Nickel is probably the story. She's 16 years old and has a very good chance to get into the finals here and even win the Rose Cup. So, and she's a local favorite, which is great. But all the competitors, what they've learned, we have 2 days of clinic, of teaching here, and then 3 days of racing. And the teaching with Jeffrey Peterson as the head coach has really made a difference. You can tell with not only the tactics, but the sail handling by all the crew, which is crucial in match racing. This is just terrific. I'm excited to be here, Tom.
Matt Whitfield, what's going on up the track?
So we've got the 2 semifinals have already started. So the Nichols and Strom race is on its second lap on this final downwind, with Nichols with a strong lead, about 8 boat lengths, and then the closer races, Pine and C, which you can see in shot right now, which are at the leeward mark, with Pine just leading around the mark. So C had a really good job off the first start, and then just gave away a little bit too
There's
much.
A collision there in the C Pine thing. If Dylan C was inside there, was he the inside boat?
C did not have mark room there. However, they had already rounded the mark, so the umpires might consider that they'd already rounded, therefore
Blue flag.
Therefore, it's a windward Lewis.
So,
So
no,
that's penalty C.
It doesn't surprise me if there was a penalty there.
So, like, although C, there's probably going to be a red flag penalty here because C went from behind to ahead whilst fouling, and now Pine is stuck on the leeward mark. So, if the umpires rule that Pine got himself stuck on the leeward mark, then it's going to be, then he's going to get a penalty. C is going to be doing spins until he's behind, so Pine needs to clear this.
Pine is well and truly stuck on the leeward
and
mark.
And the umpires do have a red flag penalty, so C must take that penalty immediately. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a second one here because C will probably exit again.
In the lead.
So the umpires have just posted another flag, so C has to take another penalty again. So Pine extending off on port, the umpires will decide that C has completed his penalty at some point. When they're satisfied he has been punished for that breach. So C has completed his penalty, and Pine is now ahead, leading out to the right-hand side. C to windward, not too far behind. Pine with maybe a 2 or 3 boat length lead.
And of course, again, Dylan C. leading in this semifinal 2-1 in a first to win 3. So James Pine needs to win this to stay in the series.
Well, so far so good.
And Nichols just coming across the finish line here, about 5 boat lengths to go in their race, leading by about 8-9 boat lengths compared to Harrison Strom and his team. So they're coming through the finish line. That'll be 3-1, and that'll be a place in the finals of the Rose Cup for them.
Sienna just looked this morning, you know, on those starts. She and her crew looked so confident. It was almost clinical what they did to the other boat. I am so impressed. Just, you know, and again, we've talked about the learning curve with match racing, and it is more than I think in any other discipline of the sport. The more match races you do, the better you get. Well, Serena showed that. Serena got 12th in the Governor's Cup last year. I'll tell you, if she gets into the Governor's Cup, she's not going to get 12th. Or she is in, I'm sorry.
She's in.
She is in the Governor's Cup as the BYC representative, and she ain't going to get 12th.
16-year-old Sienna Nichols representing the home, really favorites, Balboa, the host of this regatta, Balboa Yacht Club, with her sister, twin sister Maddie Nichols, Kai Brennan, and Eddie Kleem, have now just won their way into the finals. It was a best of 3 semis. It will be a best of 3 finals, and we'll see now who wins in the Sea Pine semifinal. It's tough for Strom, Harrison Strom from San Diego Yacht Club, and his crew of Sabrina Anderson, Kevin Kaysen, I believe it is, Wyatt Kelly. They have had a great regatta. Too bad to be taken out now of the finals by Sienna Nichols. But let's go look now at the Sea Pine match, the other semifinal, where Sea is up 2-1 over Pine. And just to tell you the names of their crew, from the Newport Harbor Yacht Club, Dylan C. and his crew of Kaya Hancock, Anton Schmidt, and Michael Sentovich. As I said, they are up 2-1, but they're trailing right now. James Pine and his crew of Nathan Pine, William Baker, and Addison Fisher from the South Carolina Yacht Club, which, Andy, we want to correct from yesterday.
Yes.
South Carolina Yacht Club is actually in Hilton Head, about 2.5 hours from Charleston. But the kids tell me they all live in and around Charleston, and they sail at the Charleston Yacht Club, at the South Carolina Yacht Club, rather, at Hilton Head Yacht Club, an active hotbed of sailing, of yacht racing in the Southeast.
So Pine and his team set in the spinnaker with maybe a 5-boat-length lead, getting straight into it, jib down, ready to jibe. So Sea following in. One thing to notice is in these races, Sea has definitely sailed a little bit hotter and a little bit faster downwind, which I think in these boats is definitely powerful. Not only does it mean that when you come into the maneuvers with more speed, you can maneuver, but just the simple VMG of going higher and faster downwind generally gets a VMG gain. So Sea was maybe this far behind in the first beat and caught up to at the leeward mark. So he's going to be thinking he can get in and get at these guys again.
Not a great set on Sea's boat. On Pine's boat, it was perfect. What you want to see is when your stern is even with the mark once you've changed course to go downwind. If the spinnaker is up and flying, then that's a great set, and Pine had that.
Andy, how about the conditions? It's soft like it was yesterday when we got out here, kind of 5, maybe 6 knots. But because of the fantastic design of these Gulf Cup 22s by Staff Commodore Alan Andrews of the Balboa Yacht Club, these boats are powered up even in this light stuff.
Oh, without question. I mean, they have a lot of sail area, and they only weigh about 1,650 pounds. And, you know, carbon rigs, and they're just, I can't say enough about these boats, especially here. You know, Newport Beach is not known for it blowing a lot. Ooh, not a good jibe on Sea's part there. In fact, sort of a terrible jibe. That just goes back to what we've been talking about, Tom, about crew work. You know, if you can handle the spinnaker better than the other team, that's worth 2 or 3 boat lengths on a downwind leg.
Yeah, it's not any monkey can steer, right, Andrew?
It is not that. It's not that, yeah.
And when you're this far behind, like Sea is, you really need to gain a boat length or 2 in a jibe just to really be able to affect the other boat. So everything's got to be perfect to open up the opportunity.
And so far has not been. So.
Yeah. And Pine doing a good job of just extending another few seconds and just getting away, getting breathing out the back, and then make sure that there's no issue from Sea's boat here.
Pine on the left with the lime or green kite, a greenish kite, and in boat 11 here on the right is Dylan C with the more gray spinnaker or kite, as the Aussies and Kiwis call it.
It's right, mate.
It's a 4-leg race course, as always, almost always in match racing. The start, then a windward leg up.
Can we do that graphic, Chris?
To the top mark, and then back downwind to a gate in front of the start-finish line. There's the chart. Back upwind on leg 3, around the top mark again to starboard, meaning leaving it on your starboard or right side. And then a 4th and final leg downwind to the obverse of the start line. And there it's the finish line, the committee boat, and the yellow mark bot set. These are actually robotic marks, self-anchoring in effect.
Well, back in the day, Tom, you know, we would generally finish at the final weather leg. So it was a 5-leg course. And the America's Cup was like that, still is. I think the downwind finish is
Big improvement.
big improvement. Yeah, and we've had some already in this series, like 3 or 4 feet.
Super close.
Yeah.
Well, in your day, when you were the tactician on Australia in 1977 against Ted Turner and Gary Jobson, it was a triangle windward, leeward, windward, 6-leg course, and it was 24.3 nautical miles off Newport, Rhode Island and Rhode Island Sound.
Yeah, and we wished that the course had been downwind for 23.4 miles.
You were quick downhill.
We were quick downwind, but upwind we were just a little off the pace, and in 12 meters, a little off the pace is 1/10 of a knot, but it's enough.
So Pine coming through here to take that win. So him and C tied up at 2 apiece. Got a winner takes all semifinals to see who will join the Balboa Yacht Club's own Sienna Nichols and crew in the finals. So Pine and C, they're going to switch. So Pine is going to be the blue entry, C going to be the yellow entry, and then whoever wins this race is going to be able to be in the final to see if they can win the Rose Cup.
Okay, who's your pick, Matty?
I know what Andy's going to do, and I'm going to disagree. I'm going to go with Pine.
Why?
I think if you win the first race of the day, the brain goes in a good place.
Well,
so I think you've got to. I think the mental side of just winning that first race, you can go. If you go 1-0, often you go 2-0. I think so. I'm going to go Pine.
Well, that's a good segue into what I was going to ask you. So what's the psychology on each boat? So you've talked about Pine.
Well, Pine goes I'm 1-0, and C is 0-1. So I think C just needs to go. Well, we were 2-1 yesterday, so we got to just win one of these. So, C's basically come out today with 2 chances to win a race, and Pine's gone out with the having to win every single time he sails. So, I think C shouldn't be too worried, but they've shown good boat handling and good downwind. So, I think they just got to harp on to what they know they're good at, which they've been quick downwind and they've been working the boat a lot in the pre-start. So when they're down speed, they've done a good job. So I think that both teams can go with positive attitudes, which if they can keep that going, then it'll be good.
Andy, who's your pick?
Dylan.
Why?
Dylan C. I just think overall he has a great command of the boat and the boat positioning and his crew. And we've seen him, get behind in a race and end up winning. And and frankly, I think it finally comes down to experience. He has sailed these boats before.
And because he's from Newport Harbor
He
Yacht
sailed in the
Club,
Governor's Cup last year. And
across the harbor from Balboa Yacht Club. And not because he's a student up at your alma mater, Stanford
well,
University.
that, of course, I'm, a little sentimental there. So, yeah, I'm for him. But I think he comes back from this, Matt. I think psychologically, I think he's the kind of skipper is what you want. Is, okay, that was then. It's done. Now let's just go out and win a race. And he's won a whole bunch of races in this series. So I predicted from the beginning that it'd be Sienna and Dylan. And I guess I better stick with my prediction.
Well, you're looking pretty good so far.
I got half of it.
Dylan C., once again from the Newport Harbor Yacht Club with Kaya. Again, I can't remember if Jeffrey told us
It's Kaya.
Kaya, right?
Yes,
Not
it is.
Kaya. Kaya hit Kaya.
Yeah.
Kaya Hancock and Anton Schmidt and Michael Sentovich from the Newport Harbor Yacht Club, and they're sailing in their semifinal against James Pine and his brother Nathan Pine, William Baker, and Addison Fisher, representing the South Carolina Yacht Club. So East Coast, West Coast, if you're just joining us, just about 100 and maybe 50 meters off of Newport Beach here on a beautiful day in SoCal, 75 degrees, call it 24 Celsius, 75 Fahrenheit, in maybe 5, 6, and I'm hearing from Bobby Steele and Mark Michelson, our weather gurus, guys, that maybe we'll get to 10 knots today.
Yep. Well, that's great. I mean, 6 knots is fine, 10 knots is fine. That's good sailing. I should note, next time you go to a vision of us, Chris Bretschker, that Tom Eamon, we've talked about how wonderful, Matt and I are as far as racing sailors. Tom is wearing his Michigan hat here, and Tom was an intercollegiate All-American, which is really special in this country. That's only the very best get to do that. And I've sailed with Tom, and he's a great calming influence in the afterguard of our bigger boat.
Of you, anyway.
But yeah, well, yeah, and I get excited sometimes. But anyway, I think the three of us, between us, have a a great deal of experience at this stuff, even though we may not sound like it most of the time.
Let's talk about the starting sequence. We've just seen the Foxtrot signal, code flag F, go up on the committee boat, which is the 7-minute signal. Matt, talk us through the starting sequence for match racing.
So the Foxtrot goes up at 7 minutes till the first start. Boats are going to enter at 4, so that's 3 minutes afterwards. The first start is going to be between, I believe it's Stratton and is it Stapleton and Parkin, or is it Stratton? It's hard to see exactly. There's a few names missing from the sales.
What we've got is, in addition to these 2 semifinals, which we've been watching, and of course the Nichols-Strom one is done in favor of Nichols, but we've got 2 other matches going on for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, and I think Stapleton-Parkin is next up. Stapleton in boat 12, Parkin in boat 8, and Stapleton is up in that series 2-0. Then we'll see Stratton and Jan, and Stratton is up 2-0 in that series, and then the winners of those 2 matches will go against each other for 5th place. The losers will race off for 7th place, if I understand this format correctly, Andy.
I think that's correct, but honestly, I don't know. This is not a format. This is a format dictated by U.S. Sailing. It's not one for a 3-day event. It's almost imperative it be like this. But we do a little longer program at Governor's Cup. We do a double round robin, so everybody sails against each other twice. And you know, if you have the time and the extra day or 2, I think that's a far superior program.
If you have the time and the inclination.
And the inclination. But this is what it is, and you know, it's still providing great racing. And I think the key to any regatta is that the best sailors should rise to the top, and I think that's what's happening here.
Let's talk briefly about the Gov Cup, because we're in less than a minute now to the entry of this next set. Have we figured out who it is? Our crack. Where is our spotter? What is it? Jan and Stratton.
Like Jan and Stratton.
Okay, so it's Jan coming in boat 10 and Stratton coming in boat 6. But Gov Cup in a month's time, Andy. Let's get back to that in a few minutes.
Okay. Always happy to talk about Gov Cup.
So we've got Jan and Stratton just entering here with 4 minutes. Jan on the starboard entry, the yellow entry coming over the committee boat. Stratton on the port entry. Right now it's 2-0 to Stratton in the series.
Look at this. Are you going to cross him? Nope. Almost, but not quite.
So as per usual, we have a dial-up. So Jan to windward is the giveaway boat here on starboard. However, he has the controlling right of way in. Oh no, there's parking over there. Parkin and Jan. So this is not what the schedule says, so not 100%. I think they're going freeboard on the races. I think the consolation rounds might be completed, and they're just doing a mini round robin just to keep all these kids sailing and get more match races in. Which, like we said yesterday, the more match races you do, the better you get. So I think they're just trying to make sure all of the kids get more and more sailing in.
I'll check with the PRO, the principal race officer, but this may be the finals for 5th place here. And we've got it now. Chris Bretschker has brought it up for us, and I think this is Stratton and Stapleton. Is that right? Yes. And that is for the 5th and 6th place now. And who is that you're...
So it's Parkin and Jan are the 2 in the pre-start.
So that's for 7th and 8th. There we go. Freddie Parkin and Chi-Yan competing now for 7th and 8th, and Freddie Parkin is up 1-0 in that pair, and then Stratton and Stapleton will be coming on next to determine 5th and 6th, and Stratton is up 1-0 in that pair.
We apologize for our mistakes there on who's sailing, but it's a 5-ring circus here, and so. And
if I may say, I may say the Gov Cup format, Andy, which you come up with and we use, is much better than the U.S. Sailing format.
Yeah, it is, and I hope U.S. Sailing at some point will consider that, but it does take an extra day. At least we sail 5 days in Governor's Cup, 5 race days. These are 3 race days.
Yes, so we got 1:44 to go. Both these boats are just circling just outside the committee boat, maybe 15, 20 seconds from the committee boat. So another 5 seconds to get to the line. So a lot of time to burn here. See Parkin trying to keep the hull speed and keep Jan down speed. If Parkin can keep the hull speed and get a hook here,
oh, look at
really
this
powerful position.
Yeah, he has control right now.
Here they're sailing.
I would say.
Yeah, sailing away from the line. Parkin stopping Jan get a jibe in, and if so, he can easily jibe inside and kill time. Every second they sail away, it gets 2 seconds better for Parkin because a second sail away is a second.
Okay, he's going to try to jibe. The jibe is complete now, and I think he had to alter course before the jibe is completed.
Yeah, the baton on the top of Jan's sail, I never saw Phil.
What do we have? What can we get the umpire boat?
Can't quite
There
see
was
the
a
umpire
whistle.
boat from here.
There was a protest, and there's a whistle, but we don't know what. We don't quite know what yet happened. But that was a classic controlling position in that
So it looks
racing.
like there was a green flag. So I guess the
Okay.
umpires are saying there was,
Well, they thought
there
he
was
made-
separation. He completed the jibe
Yeah.
before. From here, it looked like the top batons and the new main didn't fill that quickly. So here, Parkin decided to follow, whereas if Parkin had led, I think he'd be in a controlling position here. So, you know, in trying to get that penalty and not getting it, not an ideal situation here. So 20 seconds to go. They're 15 seconds from the line, so Jan just needs to come down and slow, and then he can lead Parkin back whenever he wants. But Parkin going for a hook here.
And he's got the hook.
Yeah, I think Jan needs to pull that jib in, otherwise
Oh
he's
my.
a real risk of...
Oh, my. Look at the... Oh.
Yeah.
Penalty yellow.
I think if I were Parkin there, I'd be flagging, and I'd say that Jan basically stayed and was not. So yeah, penalty yellow. So the umpires agree. So they've given Jan a penalty there. So there, Jan was leading back in, let his jib flap, let himself get the overlap, and then hooked in. If he'd have just pulled that sail in, he'd have been on time and been able to lead to the line.
Again, we say it over and over again, time and distance. If he had realized he wasn't going to be over, if he just pulled sail in, no problem. But he thought he was going to be over, slowed down, and fouled the other boat.
Yeah, I think there he's got to go jib in and bear away over the top of Parkin in front and stay clear ahead, and then he can kill the time.
So Chi Yan, who's trailing in that match against Parkin, and his team is Chi Yan, Colin Kennedy, Oscar Parzan, and Paige Tilson, also from the hometown Balboa Yacht Club, the host yacht club of this series, which we've done what, Andy? Is this the third or fourth time? No, second time for Balboa Yacht Club hosting it, actually.
Third, actually. The first two were at Balboa.
But they weren't national championships.
No, they weren't.
then?
And we should make that clear that this is the 15th anniversary of the Rose Cup, which we started as a national, you can't use the word championship until it's authorized, so we call it a National Invitational Match Race Series. And it took off right from the start. What we intended was that it's meant to make U.S. match racers, young match racers, better, and I think we've accomplished that goal.
So leading, and they're up 1-0 in this first to win 2 series. This is Freddie Parkin, who is the brother of Jack Parkin. Well, no, leading in the series. We'll come back to the Stapleton Stratton match in just a second. But up the course, we've just seen the start of Freddie Parkin, Asher Beck, Lily Foster, and Thomas Whidden, who is the grandson of the famous Tom and Betsy Whidden from Riverside Yacht Club.
Tom is a multiple America's Cup winner as a tactician and one of my fellow directors. He's actually the co-chair of the National Sailing Hall of Fame and a truly great guy. He
With Gary Jobson.
Yeah, Tom, way back when he used to work for Sobstad, he made me the best 6-meter spinnaker ever.
Well, that's how he got into the America's Cup, too, was making spinnakers for Dennis Conner and ended up on the boat and as tactician. But let's go back to the racing, Matt.
So in the screen you can see now, you've got Stapleton and Stratton. Stratton as the blue entry on the left-hand side of the screen in boat 6, and Stapleton in boat 12 on the right-hand side. So as Dave Perry says, most dial-ups are done by 2:30, so this is lasting a long time. Stapleton's done a good job here just matching and not getting too fast or going backwards too much. So here, remember when in match racing, boats who are reversing do not have to give way, unlike in normal fleet racing. So here, this is still the same windward leeward. So Stratton is the leeward boat here, Stapleton the giveaway boat. And they can, in these Gulf Cup boats, you can actually reverse upwind. So if they can arc all the way around, they can actually go almost upwind with the back being the front of the boat.
Noah Stapleton, Fiona Barbito, Brady Kennedy, and Cruz Ziskine from the Alamitos Bay Yacht Club. And then that other team, of course, the Stapleton Team Stapleton. I beg your pardon, Team Stratton. We've just done Stapleton. William Stratton, Harry Bryan, Jacqueline Cassidy, and Luca Farrell from the Del Rey Yacht Club up in Los Angeles.
Well, you've heard us say, Tom, how important the crew work is on these boats. That was a classic minute and a half of crew work. That was just brilliant. Both boats doing that exactly right. And that's not the skipper at that point. The skipper has something to do with it. But if the crew screws up, Matt, I think you'd agree, then you can't maintain that position. And I think both of them did a terrific job in retrograde motion, Tom.
The late, great Commodore Henry H. Anderson, Jr., the New York Yacht Club, coined that expression, retrograde
motion.
Backwards motion.
Yeah, what was interesting there is they were going backwards, and Stratton was to leeward, and he decided to bail out first before Stapleton, which I think if you'd have kept on going backwards there, he could have reversed away and got them both late for the start, whereas here now, he does have to burn time, whereas holding for another 10 seconds, getting further away from the line, that could have been powerful.
Well, they would have ended up on port tack with Stratton actually in a controlling position.
Yeah, and because Stapleton was kind of locked into windward and wouldn't have been able to come out until Stratton left him.
Yep.
However, here with 20 seconds to go, probably a split tack start. Stratton going to get a good start of the committee boat. Stapleton the same at the pin end. So looking like it's going to be a drag race. And I think indications there might be a left-hand shift coming down the course because the committee the race committee have moved the windward mark slightly left. So potentially a little bit of port bias on this line.
Well, I think both teams will have learned from that start, and that's part of the purpose of this. That, you know, waiting 10 seconds to do something sometimes can be the whole start. And I think you're right.
And sometimes waiting 10 seconds be intense. Although I understand from Stapleton wanting to get out of it, but Stratton was the one that decided to do it. So, you know, when you're in the powerful leeward controlling position, generally you want to kill time.
Yep.
And yeah, I think Stratton had the opportunity to, unless he just lost his jib, but it looked like a conscious call on the boat to do that.
Yeah, it did to me too, because I think their crew was doing a great job all that jib. Time. You know, so yeah, I think he chose to do that, and I think he chose, you know, a little too early.
However, he still got a good start off the starboard end of the line, so it was not terrible. Just
definitely
maybe could have been a slam dunk.
Not fatal, but could have been better.
Gents, back to the semifinals. They're about to enter at the 4-minute signal. Pine in C.
Yes. So
this is the rubber match. The winner of this will advance to the finals.
Yes, so Pine entering from the blue side, the port end in boat 3, C coming in on boat 11. C a little bit late, but just Pine couldn't get a leeward cross in there, kind of indicating that maybe there's a little bit of port bias on this line.
Yep.
Just because otherwise, if it was a square line and Pine was a bit earlier, and he might have been able to get a leeward cross here. So I would expect to see both of them try and fight to lead back and get to that pin end.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's slightly favored to the pin end. And by that, what we mean is the pin end is closer to the windward mark than the committee boat end. And it's not a lot, but in match racing, you know, having a boat length advantage at the start is a pretty good thing.
Having a 1-foot advantage is a great thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Because often in match racing, if you're 1 foot ahead off the line, you're just able to dictate on that next wave that comes. You're able to do what you want if that foot ahead.
And the other boat is.
And the other boat is dictated by you. And that 1 foot becomes 2, becomes 3. And then I'm not going to continue counting because I'm at risk of getting it wrong and embarrassing myself.
Well, we don't have today. It's interesting because the wind is not up yet. I think it will be by later in the afternoon. But we don't have the short chop, basically. They were almost swells that we had yesterday afternoon where the boats, you know, right before attack, you need to be aware of that because you can come to a complete stop. And upwind, the boats will pound a little bit. So you got to be aware of when you get a bad set.
Okay, Andrew, which side of the track do you like looking upwind now? We've got kind of a southwesterly here, starting to favor the west.
What's the wind direction there? Hang on, we'll get our ace spotter to tell us.
He's going to read the compass. Meanwhile,
230. I'd probably go right. At 230, that's the start of the westerly. It should...
The breeze shifting to the west.
It should come around to the right, to the west. I'd probably go right, but it's not... I think what Jeffrey or Matt said yesterday is true, that, you know, probably go right, but there'll still be some lefties you can take advantage of. So, and the shifting wind is really part of yacht racing, and people that are good at that. Gary Jobson was a classic at that.
And reading the surface of the water for both direction and velocity.
Yep, exactly.
But just C is doing a really good job of dialing Pine up here and just dictating this start and holding the controlling position here. So he's basically broken up the dial up and then being able to set it back up again. So real good job here by C in the crunch match, 125. Pine's really got to try and get out of this in the next 30 seconds.
I want to congratulate our, Dylan and Chris Bretschker are switching, and that was a perfect switch. You did it before I would have asked for that shot. That's terrific.
So basically, as long as C is matched on speed with Pine, he's probably going to be able to hold him here. So Pine needs to try and either stop the game or get going faster and do a and hope for a boat handling error on C's part. So
C is protecting the right big time.
So here, even if Pine does get the cross, C can stay on the inside and stop Pine tacking back to the line. So here, Pine is in a real difficult position. So Pine is going to try and bring this close to the line, see if he can get a tack in. If he can't, he's got to do a jibe out early.
Yeah, when you put the weather boat, the boat to the right on your screen, up against the committee boat, it doesn't have the normal options. In other words, he can't go on to port tack because he won't lay the line. He'll hit the committee boat. So this is classic match racing stuff. And this is where patience, and sometimes when you're a younger match racer, you don't have patience. This is where patience is important.
However, when you say C is a younger match racer, he is also very experienced, having done Gov Cup last year and a lot of other match races.
He is.
So young in age, old in experience.
Yep.
And he won the start.
Well,
and
Matt,
two boat lengths ahead, going another
Matt,
3.
Yet relatively old in experience. I'm old in experience.
You're old and mature, Andy.
I'm mature. I'll tell you what. Seldom in my life have I ever been called mature.
The only times you want to be mature if you're a cheese or a wine.
I've been 23 for 50 years.
I wouldn't get carried away with the mature part.
Yeah, exactly.
Old for sure, like me.
Yep.
Going uphill, the Team C from the Newport Harbor Yacht Club in this rubber match, if you're a bridge player, they're both tied, C and Pine, at 2-2 in the early lead to Team C. Let's give you those crew names. And thanks for all the comments we've gotten from around the world overnight. And one of the things that Andrew and I, and Matt for that matter, love to do is keep you posted on the names, not only of the skipper of the helm, or the driver, as they say in Sail GP, but the entire team, the monkey who's steering. But what a great team and you called it so far, Andy, we'll see. But the team from the Newport Harbor Yacht Club, Dylan C., Kaya Hancock, Anton Schmidt, and Michael Sentovich are leading in that semifinal, going up leg 1 of 4.
With a nice lead there, actually. They just look really good in the water, don't they, Matt? I mean, the sail trim looks good. They're coming out of tacks very quickly.
They're the left-hand boat as we look at this shot.
Yeah, I think that's one of the key things about just, we were saying off air before we came on, just sailing these boats. There's 3 or 4 quirky things about these boats that are not necessarily done in all different kinds of boats, but they're pretty simple things to do, but they're pretty hard to actually execute to a 100% level. And just sailing the boats, just knowing to come out the tacks a little bit lower, get your body weight forwards, hike as hard as you can, and just making sure that everything is just done all the same time and time again is just really makes that little quarter boat length differences that add up over the course of a race to be.
You're starting to see a little chop here, but this is it looked to me like Dylan C. was going a little higher and faster, which reminds me of the great Ted Turner story on the Mariner, the 12-meter that Britt Chance designed and was a total dog.
1974.
And there was some great film of Dennis Conner was his tactician, and they crossed the starting line, and Ted says, "How we doing?" Dennis says, "Well, they're a little higher." And then he asks another, 30 seconds, "How we doing now?" "Well, they're a little faster." And Turner says, "Higher and faster? It's going to be a long summer."
We'll tell another Mariner story maybe later on in the show. A pithy comment as we watch boat 3 going uphill. That is the Team Pine trailing behind Team C. I talked to the Team Pine this morning, James Pine, his brother Nathan, and William Baker and Addison Fisher from the South Carolina Yacht Club. And again, they are from the Charleston area, but they sail also in Hilton Head there. And they were super enthusiastic, super complimentary of the Balboa Yacht Club in this event and the boats, Andrew.
Great.
So
well, that's why we did it.
C looking like he's kind of extended another boat length
He
or
really
two
has.
there.
He's just
like real good job.
He just looks so comfortable, and the sails are trimmed perfectly, and he's coming out of the tacks brilliantly. And, you know, in attack, I mean, if you do it well, you can gain a half a boat length or more, and I think he's doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, that 7th and 8th match is over. Parkin has won 2, and he now has finished, clinched 7th place overall in this United States Youth Match Racing Championship for the Rose Cup. 8th place will go to Chi Yan, also of the Balboa Yacht Club, and his team.
Can we go to the more of the Texas Championship here? The starting line. These two boats are really going at it. Okay.
Our director said we can't.
I've heard from our director-producer that we can't. But that's all right. Trust me, everyone watching, this is a really exciting start that we're not seeing.
To hell with you, Andrew. No, we can.
So this is a really exciting match race because unlike in the America's Cup, Pine is still within 100 meters of the other boat, though. So Tom will explain how he loves the America's Cup and how far they're separated, and then Andy will sandbag even more.
No, let's don't talk about the America's Cup.
No,
this is so much
don't.
more fun. But this let's talk about the Texas Championship just for a second. We've got 2 teams, not only from Texas, but from Houston, in fact, indeed, from Galveston Bay. And they are fighting it out. In fact, they've already determined it's 9th and 10th, right, Andy?
Yes.
9th and 10th. But they're continuing to sail. They could have called it a day, gone home. But they're enthusiastically sailing, listening, learning, being coached by Jeffrey Peterson. This is the spirit of Texas. Don't mess with Texas.
Well, Texas never give up, so they're just continuing on.
Galway's already won this 3-2 over McCready, but let's go look at that other match, that semifinal match, because C is, well ahead, but let's watch how good those teams are sailing nonetheless, C and Pine, as they come down leg 2 of their 4-leg course.
So got the Texas Championship on screen here. Galway slightly to leeward.
I think our producer director is making fun of us,
yes,
gentlemen.
He is. Well, if I may say, after 6 hours on the air yesterday, we can all be a bit crotonic.
Well, but we have very low self-esteem, so that really hurts, Christopher. You know, come on, Dylan, Jesus.
Thin skin, weak egos.
I mean, Tom, it just reminds me that what I told you about Morgan Pinckney, who I've become really good friends with, and Morgan will be in the Governor's Cup again. And he texted me, and we were giving me some SHIT, and I said, come on, Morgan, you know who I am. I'm the famous Andy Rose. I'm in books. And he texted back, yeah, but my generation doesn't read books.
Let's go to the gate, can we please? Coming into the leeward gate, there's a gate at the bottom end of leg 2, and they must pass between those 2 marks. And why would you go right or why would you go left, Matt?
Depending on what you think, the bias, some of the marks that might be slightly further upwind, closer to the windward marks, and then where you think the next gain is going to be.
Look at this. He's going to the right mark, even though I suspect the right side of the course is favored. But that's interesting.
I think they're just so much closer to the downwind right end.
Yeah.
So
Pine following
well,
implies that it's a little bit further up.
Yeah.
There is a light patch on the course at the leeward marks, and it does look like the next breeze is coming in from the left-hand side.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably what the thinking is here.
I think there was a lefty there, definitely.
So C thinks when this breeze does fill in, which is maybe 30, 40 yards off his bow, he's going to be able to get to it first.
Well, this will be interesting because you normally would, by a slight margin, choose the right side. So we'll see here. This will be interesting. Pine, of course, is praying for that righty.
And you can see C there is sailing really low just to get bow forwards on him, just to take out the risk of that right-hand shift. If you sail low and fast and you can get bow forwards, you close down the leverage, and any potential right shift is by a smaller margin. So good job here by C just to say, I want to be ahead.
Exactly, Matt. You will lose a little bit of distance, but you'll still be ahead. And that's the key. Nobody remembers how much you won by.
Well.
Yeah, and he's done very well there. That's great.
Yeah, and you can see the 3 crew hiking really hard just to allow for that low mo to happen there. And as someone who's been a skipper on these boats, I will say the tiller extensions are very short, so the skipper actually can't hike properly. So the skipper is not being lazy. They're actually unable to do it because you can't reach the tiller extension then.
No, that's why it's a great boat for me. So I don't want to hike. Well, that was a close finish.
Yeah, so in the fifth, sixth playoff, Stapleton has just been defeated by Stratton. So Stratton 2-0 right now in that series.
By about 10 feet.
Yeah, it's over. So Stratton finishes fifth overall and Stapleton sixth. Congratulations to both teams. You know, we should talk about the twins. We've got two twinners out here, and on this Pine team from South Carolina Yacht Club, James Pine and Nathan Pine. They're twins, as it turns out.
Really? I didn't know that.
Rose,
That's great.
Christine Gribben, our esteemed chairman for life, CFL we call her, of both the Gulf Cup, and she chairs these kinds of events regularly for us here at Balboa Yacht Club. She tells me that the Nichols twins on the Balboa Yacht Club team and the Pine twins are both, wasn't there something called Twin Pines, a milk or something? We got the Pine twins. The Nichols twins and the Pine twins are both on the U.S. Sailing Youth ILCA, meaning the laser team. They're top 10, and the male and female ILCA sailors are among the top 10 in the U.S. of A. They also just sailed against each other at the high school nationals in Connecticut. We'll see if the Pine team gets into the finals, and we'll have the Pine twins and the Nichols twins. But right now, Andrew, it's looking like Team C from the Newport Harbor Yacht Club and your alma mater, at least the skipper, Dylan C., Stanford University. They are not hugely in the lead, but have a comfortable lead at the top mark.
I think there was a bit of a righty there, and so, you know, Dylan lost a bit of his lead, but by getting his bow ahead of the other boat, protected the lead. And again, it doesn't matter how much you win by. Nice set on Dylan C's boat, and a nice jibe.
It's closer than I thought.
Yeah, it is. No, he gained quite a bit on that.
Coming down the fourth and final leg.
Again, I wouldn't have left the right. I would have gone right, but but I've never made a mistake as a commentator, so tactical mistake.
And whenever you've lost a race, as a tactician, it's always been because you've had a slow boat.
It is, or the monkey steering,
or a bad strategist standing behind him. He blames it on me when I'm aboard. What's the difference between a tactician and a strategist as we watch Pine struggle a bit with her kite?
Strategist is a relatively new concept in sailing. It used to be just skipper and tactician. The strategist, though, can help, and I've chartered 12 meters, as you know, Tom, frequently, and it actually helps because you have a younger guy who can actually do the running back stay, which I don't do anymore. But mostly what the strategist does is look before the race, look up the course, decide sort of, I think we should go left, and this is what's going to happen, I think. And then my job as tactician is to put the boat there, but also ahead of the other boat.
Yeah,
so the quick maneuvers, tacticians get to do.
The near-term quick stuff vis-a-vis the competition is more the tactician, and the strategist thinking about the wind and the wind over the longer haul and the next leg and what sails you're going to use on the next leg, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Dylan C., guys, with the gray kite coming downhill in boat 11 on the fourth and final leg of this semifinal with not a huge lead, but a comfortable lead over the Pine team from South Carolina.
Yeah, I think good job by C there just to jibe over and just stay in clear breeze, but in the same kind of water as what Pine would be rather than extend out. Just reduce the risk, just like he did on the beat. Just don't let the other boat get too far away. And then Pine at some point is going to have to engage because he's not going to be able to get enough separation to really make a massive gain. So Pine coming back there, and C probably should just jibe on his line and just lead back and keep clear breeze.
Now, may I say that those two orange buoys are the downwind gate. They have no meaning, no implication on this fourth and final leg because they're sailing to the finish line now, which is the committee boat there in the kind of center left, and the yellow buoy over there on the right, which is the start line, and it's also the finish line.
Well, there used to be a great National Football League former quarterback and commentator, Dandy Don Meredith. And what he would do right now at a game like this, he'd say, turn out the lights, the party's over.
Except we got the finals to go.
Well, but
for this match anyway, the lights are out, and the match is over in favor of Dylan C. Your prediction, Andrew, as usual, not always. You are rarely in error, but never in doubt, if I may say.
Yes, often wrong and never in doubt. That's on our the crest of the Technicians Union. That's the motto.
The two local teams, or two of the three local teams, Dylan C. from the Newport Harbor Yacht Club, now will go into the finals against the Balboa Yacht Club team of the Nichols twins. Let's give you the rest of that crew. Tell us a little bit about that crew, Andy. I'll give you their names again. Sienna Nichols and her sister, twin sister Maddie, who is 15 minutes younger, I'm told. Their mother, Melanie, by the way, is out here on the race committee helping set the marks. Bravo Zulu to the family affair here at Balboa Yacht Club. And Kai Brennan is also on their sailing team, and Eddie Kleem.
Well, Kai is terrific, without question. Eddie has sailed with us a bit on It's Okay, and Eddie is one of those sailors, and we've talked about this, Matt and Tom, about intercollegiate sailing, and a lot of intercollegiate sailors don't sail anymore after they finish college. Eddie early on has already decided he really likes the bigger boats better than the smaller boats, and more power to him. And so he's going on his first Transpac race on Bolt. I think they start Saturday. No, they probably start the third day before 4th of July. But he's excited about that. He's a terrific sailor. Kai Brennan is awesome. I mean, the Balboa Yacht Club program right now in match racing is one of the best in the world, if not the best. It's produced just these incredible young sailors. I mean, Sienna and Maddie are just 16 years old. I mean, we've never had the youngest Governor's Cup winner was 17. But that was back when the age limits were lower, and this is a truly incredible performance. Okay. You're going to hear from them.
Let's talk about the Gov Cup, because that's in a month's time. That's the prestigious International Youth Match Racing Championship, and the winner of this event, if I can use a Stanford word, will matriculate.
Yes,
will advance to the Governor's Cup against and along with 11 other teams from around the world: Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Ireland, Denmark. Where else, Andrew?
Let's see, Sweden
and the U.S.
Our friend Marius Vesterland's younger brother, Theo, will be here. And we may, if Sienna was to win the Governor's Cup, she has already received an invitation, to win the Rose Cup. She's already received an invitation to sail in the Governor's Cup. So if she wins, then the first alternate is a Canadian team. And if they choose not to come, then the second alternate will be, if she was to beat Dylan, second alternate would be Dylan. And I have mixed feelings. I think it'd be great to have another Canadian team, but Dylan and Maddie have this thing going. I mean, on the race course, and it's pretty impressive to see these two. So these two teams they're amazing, and they're young.
So the Gov Cup, and this will be the 58th edition this year. It's patterned after the Congressional Cup up in Long Beach, just up the shore from us. That's the granddaddy of the senior match racing event's been going on since the 60s. And we are very proud to host that every year at Balboa Yacht Club. Hence our group, we call ourselves Gov Cup TV. It's an all-volunteer team led by our producer-director, Chris Bretschker, who's a senior member by now. He's getting old, senior member here at Balboa Yacht Club. And Andy, you're really the executive producer. You help keep this thing alive, help fund it, and this Gov Cup TV is getting accolades from around the world for these beautiful pictures, for the production with 4 drones and increasingly good audio and yada, 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 which will even get better during the Gov Cup.
And all of your commentators have just dislocated their shoulders from patting ourselves on the back.
Well, I didn't say anything about the commentary. It is at times.
It's just the whole. Yeah, I got it.
So we'll look forward to having you back with us for Gov Cup. And what's the start date? It's this year. It's Tuesday.
29 July.
Instead of Monday, it's starting a day later because?
Well, because World Sailing sometimes schedules things on top of us very late in the year, but who am I to criticize World Sailing?
Well,
Tom?
I'll criticize them. I'm on the Sailing Illustrated show every Tuesday and Friday. I'm happy to criticize croutons like
Why
World
don't you
Sailing.
talk about the schedule for Governor's Cup? We do a lot more coverage for Governor's Cup.
Well, Governor's Cup, we do 10 shows in 6 days. So we're doing morning shows and press conferences at night and live sailing the last 2 days, which this year will be Saturday, Sunday. But why don't we go have a look at this finish between 4 and 6. Our crack spotter has erased our board.
So it's between McCready and Galway. So for the Texas Championship, for the sail-off now, just the two of these are just sailing together today. So they want to get more practice in. So they finished yesterday, Galway winning 3-2. And then today they've got, they're just doing some practice. So they owe a penalty. Galway is the purple kite coming in behind.
Spin and win?
Oh, spin and lose.
Spin and lose. Did they actually owe a penalty, or were they just practicing?
They owed
a penalty.
Oh, they did.
Okay, so what you just saw there, and great again,
nice.
Going to that, Chris Bretschker and Dylan, if you have a penalty, quite often you will try to evolve it by doing a complete turn right before you finish. And what you do is you come up, you take down your spinnaker. Spinnaker must be down below where the boom is, basically.
So the boom and the mast,
and
called
the mast.
Gooseneck.
And then the gooseneck, and then you can complete your turn and sometimes drift over and win the race, which is called spin and win. That was sort of a spin and lose. But it is a very difficult maneuver to do, especially if you're not terribly experienced in these boats.
It was actually pretty well done. They just didn't have enough of a lead.
They didn't have enough of a lead.
But a good effort, good try.
Exactly.
May I shift the focus for a moment to Balboa Yacht Club and the literally dozens of volunteers that help put this event on, and more than 100 volunteers that help our CFL, our chairman for life, Christine Gribben, run GovCup as well. She's chairing this event. But one of the key factors is this club swings into action not only with the race committee and Father Greg Newman and his bosun team. You see the boat out here with the black and yellow code flag L Lima on it. They're servicing the boats and keeping them in tip-top shape. But even more so, the staff at the club who feed us and keep us liquefied as well. On our craft services team on this boat that keep us fed and also hydrated. But the club members, including Matt Whitfield, they're hosting these teams, a number of them, not all of them. Some of them have hotels or local friends. But the members swing into action and house the teams in their private homes. And, Matt, you're housing one of the teams, are you not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got Gavin Galway and his team staying at our house from Texas. So last night they were outside having s'mores in the backyard, and then we're going to drop them off at the beach, and they're going to stay tonight, and then they fly out tomorrow morning. So it's been really nice having them.
Well, Tom, you'll remember that on our 50th anniversary in 2016, both Tom and my great friend Kimmel Livingston, who was not only a former Commodore of St. Francis, but also one of the best yachting writers ever, and he wrote an article. He came down and covered the 50th anniversary, and he wrote a great article in Sailing World. But he started off with saying the Governor's Cup is the beating heart of the Balboa Yacht Club. And I think that's absolutely true words. The number of volunteers and the people that get involved here are just amazing. And it's just fun.
Shout out to Kimball. That was nice. He's watching. I saw him the other night at St. Francis Yacht Club up in San Francisco, and he said, "Are you guys going live both days? It's going to ruin my weekend," because he loves to watch. He loves youth sailing. He's sort of the Pied Piper of youth sailing, even though he's a past Commodore.
Yep.
Hugely good influence. One of the best Commodores we had, I think, in the modern era at St. Francis Yacht Club. But the Fishbeck family, not only Matt housing a team, but the Fishbeck family, who are superb supporters of Sailing Illustrated, and others here at the club are housing teams. And it's just a wonderful atmosphere. And you have nice weather, great boats, and what more could you want?
Yep. I agree. As Tom, as you know, I always call the Governor's Cup my second Christmas week, because the sailors, the young sailors, are so inspiring. I mean, you start to believe again in the world and
not your
everything.
co-commentators?
And not my co-commentators. You inspire me all the time, Tom.
But we only inspire Andy into not what to be.
Well, but it's true. I mean, these sailors are, this in a way is more fun in one way than the Governor's Cup, because the learning curves here are much steeper.
And to see the kids improve, not only through this third day, we've had 3 days of racing, but as we've said, Jeffrey Peterson, who's one of our co-commentators, helped bring them along by coaching. It's as Dawn Riley would say, it's a clinigatta. It's a clinic and a regatta. And there we want to say hats off to Dave Perry and U.S. Sailing for creating this event some 10 years ago as a national championship.
Yep.
But if you're just joining us here, we're just off Newport Beach in Southern California, and we're about to get into two more matches. One will be the Petite Finale, which is for third and fourth place between Harrison Strom, the loser of that other semifinal, and James Pine, their teams. So San Diego against South Carolina, and that's a first to win two, as you can see on your screen now, thanks to matchracingresults.com. Chris Bretschker brings that up on the screen. You can all watch it, matchracingresults.com. It's a good service.
An incredible service.
Free
site.
service. And they cover, in fact, there's two other events I saw this morning going on matchracingresults.com around the world. And then we will also have the final, of course, between Dylan C. and Sienna Nichols. Andy called it. And that is a first to win three, or best of five, coming up here in the finale of the 2025 United States Youth Match Racing Championship for the Rosé Cup, as we call it. Andy, how'd that cup get named after you? You didn't do that.
I did not do that. NIPSA, the late Larry Law, who left us this year, was an incredible promoter of youth sailing, both in the 420, the International 420 class, and in match racing here at Balboa Yacht Club. And so he was one of the founders of what became the Rose Cup, and I wanted to name it after Roy Disney, but he had his board, and I didn't know anything about this. And when they unveiled it, it was named after me, which was wonderful.
And
but
NIPSA
I get so much.
NIPSA stands for
Newport Balboa Sailing and Seamanship Association, which has been a huge help for a couple decades, more than 20 years in promoting youth sailing. And we miss Larry. He was an incredible guy, enthusiastic. He would get things done. It just was fun to work with him, and we miss him. His son Justin is taking over some of the duties on NIPSA, as is our own Greg Newman, the director Greg Newman of Balboa Yacht Club. And it will continue to...
And our chief bosun.
And our chief bosun, yes. And, NIPSA will continue to flourish and help youth sailing. So it's pretty cool. Let me say one other thing about the Petite Finale. That's important because we use the term podium finishes. The top three are podium finishers. The fourth is not. And also for rankings, World Sailing now has a youth match racing ranking thing, and the difference is important. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each place gets you more points, and that sometimes is used to, as they use it, to a great extent, to pick the teams that will sail in the youth world match racing.
Invited to
the world match racing.
Of which Jeffrey Peterson is a winner.
He is a world champion. And
David Wood also.
David
from this
Wood
club.
from Balboa Yacht Club the year before.
Do we know where that event is this year? Is it in Poland?
It's in Gdynia, Poland. Yep.
If you're looking up the track, as we are, Matt Whitfield will observe what he would call white horses, what we might call white caps. There's starting to be a little white froth on the tops of the waves out here in the Pacific Ocean. How much breeze, Matt, is there, and what do you expect it to build to?
I mean, there's pretty good breeze out there. Maybe last race it was 6-7 knots. The boats were hiking at times. Now it's probably built another 2 or 3 knots, probably at least 10, 11, 12 knots maybe.
It's going to be slightly higher, as I predicted. Than your famous weather guys.
Mark Michelson was close. Bobby Steele was close. They said tops 10.
And using the
Mark,
Mark...
We're going to have 12 or 13, and there's a difference.
The Mark 1 eyeball says that now Catalina is just starting to get exposed a little bit, so we can see through. So the more clearing out to sea, the more wind there should be. So looking further upwind indicates there might even be way more wind, and I think now it's probably into the go right phase. So get to the committee boat, lead right.
What are we seeing there, Tom, on the screen?
What are we seeing? We're seeing windy.com.
Yep.
A great website. There's several others, but this is one of the most popular that Chris Bretschker has put up on the screen for us. And what's going to happen? It says 7 knots at, what buoy is that? That's our mark here. Chris Bretschker, our director.
It's blowing more than 7, I can tell you that.
It is.
But windy is a very useful thing, but you still have to, again, some the Congressional Cup, at least for 1 year, had all the commentators in a booth on shore. And one reason we do this from out here is so we can actually see that.
It's crotonic to do it in a sound booth.
It really is.
Sail GP, America's Cup,
Yep.
even the Olympics. Poor old Gary Jobson
Oh, I
doing the
know.
Marseille Olympics
From Connecticut.
from NBC sound booth in Connecticut is
Yeah.
just not correct. But we got a start coming up here, guys, or a starting sequence anyway. This will be for the Petite Finale. This will be the Pine Strom Petite Finale. Strom coming in boat 5 from the yellow or committee boat end. He's got the yellow flag on his leech, the trailing edge of his mainsail, against Team Pine coming in from the pin end, boat 3, and the blue flag.
So the way this will work is this will be a first to 2 wins in the Petite Finale. So between Pine and Strom, that'll be first to 2 wins, and then Nichols C, which is the big final for the Rose Cup, that will be first to 3 wins. So the Strom Pine match might be done a little bit earlier. So
Yeah, that's a match racing staple. Is you always want the last race to be only the finalists on the course, and I think that's great. Wouldn't you call it? You're a Pommy. Wouldn't you call it the grand final?
Well, I'm married to a French lady, so I'm allowed to choose whatever I want. I live in America. I'm born in Britain, and then married to a French woman, so I can choose whatever language I want as long as it's not Spanish. But I guess California means I can do Spanish as well.
And later in the evening, he speaks Welsh.
Yes,
Yeah.
goes back to his native language.
Yeah. Well, I can speak Welsh in the morning as well, but I can speak a different Welsh in the evening.
Very few vowels in Welsh.
So 4 minutes to go. With the breeze building up a bit, although there's no swell this morning, not good if you're a Newport Beach surfer, but it does mean that the chop can form slightly quicker here, and there is a little bit of an underlying
Already.
chop forming, which is going to mean that this dial-up is going to potentially be a little bit risky for the boat to windward. So if you hit a wave and just lose flow, you can just be sucked down and just drift sideways, because these boats have a very narrow keel. So if you get wrong, you can really get stuck down. So very vulnerable to be the boat to windward here. And C to Pine on the port side did a real good job of doing a steel bulls. So that's where you basically need balls of steel to back down, back your jib and swing down, and believe that you can get around behind the other boat
Without hitting them.
Yes, a real good job there.
Was that I'm not surprised there was a protest flag. Was that a green flag?
So green flag, no flags flying on the umpire boats.
Yeah, I don't think it was a foul, but it was close.
Yeah, so real good job there by Pine just to break up that dial-up. So realistically, breaking up a dial-up is not a big advantage. However, not breaking up a dial-up is a disadvantage.
Exactly.
So, people say that the yellow side is favored because you do go into the dial-up and you, in theory, have that advantage. But it's probably a 50.1% advantage, which
I couldn't agree more.
50.1% is better than 49.9, but it's very much a 50-50. As soon as that dial-up breaks up, it then becomes execute from there. So Pine and Strom here just going to come around, circle around the committee, the media boat here. We're probably 35 seconds of sailing to the line, so 2 minutes 10. So they got 4 to 1, so a lot of time to burn here. I wouldn't be surprised to see a full another loop.
Here they are. We'll go to our camera on the boat. You can see how close they are to us. They're using us as what we call a pick boat. It's the same thing.
And you can see what we mean by the waves there. Just really stop the boat.
I think you could probably hear the boats bouncing in the waves. But at any rate, a pick boat is the same concept as in basketball. You set a pick, and the shooter can't get to where he or she wants to be to make the shot. It's the same thing here. It's
the defender can't get to where they want to defend the shooter.
Yep.
In a pick and basket.
Yeah, right. So they're still circling this boat, and this is a typical technique. In most match racing events, there are spectator boats and media boats, and it's a good way to get rid of someone trying to control you. If you're the boat ahead, you get behind this boat and then have some options.
Extra points for teams that circle the media boat.
Well, absolutely, absolutely.
So here they got 1 minute 5 seconds to go, maybe 30 seconds from the line. So pretty even here. Strom trying to push in, and Pine trying to kill speed here. So Strom, if he can get an overlap here, he can dictate. if Pine can just wiggle and slow down and keep clear ahead, then he's going to be in a powerful position here.
Well, if he could get a hook, he can prevent the other boat from starting, theoretically, if he doesn't lose too much speed, because he's in the bad air of the other boat. But
however, Strom's doing a real good job here of just staying high, so they're going back towards the line but not getting overlapped. So, however, he does need to get these boats moving in. I think slight advantage Pine, but Strom should be able to get off here.
still quite a bit of time, 23 seconds, and they're only probably 8 or 10, more like 8 from the, oh, look at this. So this is a classic thing. There's no place for the leading boat to go.
Pine got hooked.
Pine got hooked,
so
and he's going to be over, I think.
And Pine over the line here, so as long as Strom doesn't get over the line, this is a real good start.
4 seconds. Oh, but why did he bear off there?
Because I think he's making sure he's not over. I think Pine was still marginally over and having
Blue
to
is
dip
over.
here.
Blue flag is up on the committee boat. Blue is over.
Blue is over, so it still worked for him, but I would have just stayed there.
And then bore away.
And then bore away.
Cleared yourself.
Once the other boat is over, then I have an easy path back.
Exactly.
I think
the boat ahead doesn't.
The only thing there is they may well not have known whether they were over and just trying to keep it.
Yeah.
But what I would have done in that situation is just try and lead to the right here. I think that's going to be the favored side of the course. So they're bow to bow here. If they could have been bow forwards, they could have even extended out even further.
Well, ended up pretty even, but I think there was a big chance there to really slam dunk the start, basically. If you can push the other boat over and you're farther a little back, so you can get under the, you have to, we should explain that actually the imaginary line between the committee boat and the pin, if your bow is over, it's called OCS, on course side. You have to return, and the boat completely has to be below the line before you can start, basically. So what I was saying there is hold him up, be sure he's over, and even if you're over, you have a quicker path back.
For older sailors watching, they may remember when we didn't call it OCS for on-course side. We used to call it PMS for premature starter.
Yep.
But the women in our sport didn't like being scored PMS. So we changed it to OC. I'm not kidding. We changed it to OCS.
Yep, I believe it.
Okay, now we've told that story. We'll tell that again during Gov Cup.
But real good groove here by Pine, the boat to leeward, just to go bow forward and higher. Just almost able to work clear ahead, and he might even be able to start affecting the onto Dirty Breeze here. So
no, he's done a nice job. Well, again, he's going right.
Yeah.
And as we discussed yesterday, as it comes up here, the wind will continue likely to go right.
So in the shot here, we've got Nichols as the blue port entry, and C the yellow starboard entry. So, but this is the big final, so the grand final. So the winner of this will be the Rose Cup winner, first of 3 points.
I like it.
The Petite Finale, by the way, we're not being pretentious. That's what in match racing we call the consolation match for third and fourth, the Petite Finale.
Well, naming it that, Tom, was a consolation to France.
Yeah. Well done, Andy. Very clever.
Sorry for all my friends from France. I apologize.
Including Emma Whitfield.
Yep. She's got a cooler name, so she chooses her name. So here, Nichols coming around, C just trying to dial them up just so they're able to get a hook here. Nichols just big boat handling just to try and keep from getting hooked. So here, the only real advantage if a boat has controlling interest in stopping a jibe and stopping attack so they can swing either way. So here, just kind of coming out, 2 minutes to go. Here, I think the key here is the tacticians are looking at wind saying, which side do I want? I think this time of day, I don't think you need a tactician for that, but they're just going, we want to get right, time on distance back into the line.
I think it's, when you get to the top of any match race series, the boats are so equally matched that I think you're exactly right, Matt. You have to be aware of where you want to go because you may not, you're unlikely to have a slam dunk start. So you're probably going to start even, and you want to be able to control where you go. And here they come around using us again as a pick.
You see the big tiller wag there by C
Yep.
to slow the boat down?
I think the thing that's been noticeable in these two teams compared to the other 8 teams all week is they've done a lot more tiller movement, a lot more body weight movement, and throwing the boat around a lot more. Just I think that's the confidence of having sailed 5 or 6 days at Gov Cup last year. You know, and I know Dylan and Sienna both were able to sail in the Cow Dreaming series in these boats early in the year, so getting a lot of days in on these boats.
Yep.
Inside of a minute now. A lot of time to kill.
I'd rather be leading back here, because I think with these waves, if you can get them stuffed head to wind, you can really stop it. So I think C in a good position here, but with a decent amount of time to go, 40 seconds, maybe 30 seconds back to the line. However, if he gets a hook, the flip switches very quickly.
The key there is, as they're going down, is where the ley line to the boat end is, because the boat leading there, it's like you want to push the other boat, the boat ahead in your screen, push them up against the committee boat, so they have very little ability to either bear off after the start, bear off on starboard with speed, or to tack onto port. So they're doing a really nice job here.
Yeah, I think C there, when he was leading in, when he thought he
boy.
was early, he really needed to bear away and get to leeward rather than go to windward.
Exactly.
I think there he just gave the Nichols just a little bit of a gap there, and
Yep.
real good execution
And
there
she
from
did
them
a-
to
Yeah.
get
She
up,
did a great
slow
job. He'll
down,
have
and
to-
dial off.
He'll have to tack, and indeed he is.
She did a great
That was a beautiful job by Sienna. That really was.
However, as we saw in the last start, the similar sort of thing happened where the boat that was leading to the right was able to gain, so
Yep.
it's certainly an even start. Slight advantage Nichols if they can go fast, but if C is able to climb up and spit them off, then that would be real powerful.
For those of you just joining us, we're out here in the Pacific Ocean at the start of the finals of the 2025 United States Youth Match Racing Championship between Team Nichols from Balboa Yacht Club and Team C from the Newport Harbor Yacht Club. It's closing up here a bit.
Well, we've seen both of them have exhibited great boat speed and great boat handling. And, you know, again, this is becoming, Sienna is falling into them. This is becoming as the wind comes up in Newport Beach in the summer, it will go more right. And it becomes almost, unfortunately, a one-way course.
And I think as well,
And there you go.
with the
That's what-
square top mains, it's really, really powerful to be the leeward boat. So you even see it early in the day when you're the leeward off starboard off the line. There's a big gap that you need to be to windward to hold your lane off there,
Without question.
which I think C did a real good job there of just keeping his speed and getting high, and then Nichols just struggling to hold in there.
And if you're watching here for the first time, perhaps the chase boat, the rubber boat, the motorboat following is the umpire boat. There is a blue flag there on the back edge of the trailing edge of the Nichols mainsail, so we call them the blue boat. And conversely, the Team C has the yellow flag, and if the umpires decide to penalize one or the other, they'll use the corresponding color flag, blue for Nichols, yellow for C. And if there's a protest by one of the teams and the umpires deem no one to have infringed the rules, the umpires will display a green flag.
Matt, am I seeing here that it looks like Team C has been sort of fully hiked when Team Nichols is not, which is interesting.
What's the weight rules for the Gulf Cup 22s?
I cannot remember that. They have a different weight limit for this series than the Governor's Cup.
Our crack spotter is making a crack comment here. He's just asked the question, Matt. Do you want to answer? Ask and answer?
No.
What was the question?
The question was, did Sienna beat Matt at the California Dream and Match Racing Series, yes or no?
What I will say is we beat them in our race against each other. So, and I'm not sure why Ken's throwing shade there, because he was on the boat with me. So I think he's insulting himself.
That was Ken Sherb, our crack spotter, coming up with that. He probably forgot he was with you.
He's had to block out every time he's been around me.
Good job, guys. So no big advantage, which is why you're seeing the split. Nobody's been able to gain a big advantage here. But again, the split going out left could be a little dangerous.
Yeah, I think C is going to do 2 less tacks on this beat as well, which is, you
Yep.
know, in these waves, you do definitely lose
Yep.
half a boat length or so in these tacks. So if he can do 2 less tacks, maybe that's another half a boat length gain overall.
Yep. Great photography, guys.
Perfect conditions. I've heard from Mark Michelson who says it may ramp up to 12, gusting 14.
Now, see?
Huh?
And who said that earlier?
You did. You told me that
Yeah.
on the the shore boat from Balboa Yacht Club had come to pick us up at your home and take us across the harbor, and you said, it's clearing. It's clearing early. We're going to have breeze today. And you were right, Andrew.
Well, it becomes a righty on the course, as we've discussed. We used to sail against a guy when I was a kid in bigger boats. And this guy was famous. Chuck Glasgow is a former Commodore Balboa. His tactic was there's a mark about 1.5 miles off the Newport Pier out to the southwest. And Chuck would go to the second lifeguard tower and tack. And that was how always,
In a southwester.
In a southwester, yep.
So here you got C rounding the mark with
Ooh.
that grey kite going up. However, the Petite finale is interacting with Nichols here, so that's real good for C. He gets to extend
really
another
is.
half length and a half. So.
Oh my, that's big.
So Nichols went from being on the precipice of being able to get covering and gain back to
However, look at
probably
that.
slightly back.
Look at that spinnaker set. It was absolutely perfect. She just rolled the other boat, but she's still stuck.
And real smart move from C to jibe off now when Nichols is maybe not able to jibe because of Pine. So he's going to be able to sail this whole downwind in clear breeze. So real good move there just to acknowledge, this is what I can do. And he's coming down on the front edge of pressure. Looks like they're slightly headed on starboard jibe right now.
Yeah, that was huge there because Sienna cannot go after the other boat right now. She could probably jibe now, but at first, for all that time, she could not have jibed legally.
Yeah, and then C doing the good thing and just staying in the same kind of water here. So just making sure that he can lead that jibe back into the marks at the bottom and just coming back in. Real good move there to take advantage of external factors.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but this thing does happen in match racing. One pair will get mixed up with another.
And then, unfortunate for Nichols again, got Pine jibing potentially on her breeze again. So that's one of the things you've got to pay attention to. You're in a 2-boat race, but at times it becomes a 4-boat race. And the other the rules do apply between matches and other races. So you do have to acknowledge other boats, which is sometimes infuriating, but it's part of the sport.
Let's talk about those rules just briefly.
Yeah.
2 boats on opposite tacks, meaning one has the wind coming over their starboard or right side, has the right-of-way over a boat that has the wind coming over its port or left side. If they're both on the same tack with the wind coming over the same side, then it's the boat to windward is the keep clear boat. The boat to leeward has right-of-way, meaning further away from the eye of the wind. And if they're one in front and one behind, as you almost see here, well, now they're side to side. In this case, Nichols, even though it's a different match, has right-of-way over Pine because Pine is the windward yacht. Now they jibe away. And a boat clear ahead has right-of-way over a boat that's clear astern.
Tell you, she's done a nice job downwind here. She's closed the gap
She has a
without
lot.
question. And an early takedown by C and moving pretty slowly.
And I think interesting move to
Boy.
jibe back to take that mark and go through the dirty wind of other kites and to the left-hand side.
Yeah,
I think there you're giving the potential gain to Nichols here. This is exactly what I'd want if I was the trailing boat, is to be able to lead out to the right.
Me too.
And
look at
avoid
that.
dirt.
He's having to tack to follow her up the course.
Yeah.
Boy, I think, well, we'll see. But I think that was a huge mistake.
If I may make a humble observation, I think Dylan is quicker uphill and Sienna is quicker downhill.
You're probably right. Well, Sienna is now hoping for a big righty, as we call it. In other words, the wind to continue to go to the right, which if you look at the geometry, basically, both boats that you're seeing on screen will head closer to the coast, and the geometry will gain her 1, 2, 3 boat lengths if there's enough of a shift. Doesn't look like anything yet, though, Matt.
No, however, I think, they're definitely closer than they were on the first beat. So I think if I were to guess, I'd say, maybe it was 4 boat lengths at the top and, with that, and maybe it would be 3 boat lengths at the bottom, but C with that slightly early takedown, another mark, maybe it's down to 1.5 boat lengths, which is super, super close to be able to attack.
Well, she's had great success downwind in this series, passing some boats and absolving a penalty. So it's like we always used to say about Jeffrey Peterson. The last thing I would want is Jeffrey Peterson 2 boat lengths behind me at the weather mark.
If I may note, in the Petite finale, Pine has taken a 1-0 lead over Strom in the first to win 2. First to win 3. Thank you, Crack Spotter.
Well, that's unusual.
So they're both first to win 3. Well, a beautiful day out here. They're going to get them in.
Well, except that because, as I said, the match race tradition is that the last race, that the Petite finale always finishes before the finale.
And here, if this goes 2-0, or 3-0 rather, in the finals, and the other one goes 2-2,
Yep.
then the Petite finale is not the the big finisher.
Exactly.
The big.
And I like that tradition. I think it's really
I agree
good
with
to
you.
have it. The last boats on the course are the finalists.
Well, you better have a word with U.S. Sailing, Andrew, and set Dave Perry and
Life's too short.
these rest of them right. Oh, okay, it is first to win too. So now our crack spotter.
See, that'll teach our crack spotter to make fun of us.
He was not so crack on that one.
No.
Or maybe he was.
He
Maybe
was
he's
on crack. Yeah.
I don't know. He's done a fabulous job, and we could not do this. We say this every regatta, but we could not do it without our spotter, statistician, crack spotter at that.
So I think here C and Nichols are both potentially slightly on a fat lay line, so they might have gone a boat length or two past the lay, with Nichols not wanting to tap back into the dirt. So that's probably another little bit of a gain back for C here, maybe a 3 boat length lead.
Yep. Yeah, at some point, once you get up the course, the trailing boat doesn't have many options, because if the other boat is going right to the lay line, you can't tack below them in their bad air. So it's yeah. So he's reestablished that. She didn't gain much on that, if any.
Fourth and final leg. Fourth and final.
Oh,
Whoa!
I think that Spinnaker guy might have completely disappeared off the boat.
Oh my!
Because those Spinnaker sheets are relatively short.
Oh my!
I think the knot might have come undone.
It's unhooked.
This is huge. I lost a Congressional Cup like that. We had a big lead, lost the shackle opened up, Spinnaker went out like a flag. Oh my, what a time for that to happen. She's going to pass him right here.
Yeah, so Nichols here just needs to stay away, just try and, if C jives over, jive away and
she's
just
going
lead
after
away.
him.
Yeah, I think here if she has a Spinnaker, she should just stay away and just jibe away.
I agree with that. I wouldn't be that aggressive right there.
Yeah, there we go, just coming towards and then jibing away.
Well,
there's nothing C can really do here. You just
yeah, brilliant job on Sienna's part, but oh my, believe me, that brings back really bad memories. We had a third Congressional Cup as tactician, but for one shackle opening up.
However, great job by C's crew just to re-rig that boat.
Exactly.
Yep.
Like, just straight up, and they're still within the hunt here. They're 2 boat lengths clear, and there's going to be a jibe into the finish here, so there's no reason they can't potentially get a passing lane.
The slow jibe, but the Spinnaker work was good, but the boat turn was, yeah, that's a good move, though.
And this is not a case of open shackle. They're tied, right?
Yeah, they're
the
tied.
Spinnaker
Yeah.
sheets are tied onto
Yeah,
it
so
on
that
bowling.
we'll have to find out what happened there.
Yeah, so C still in this game, like
yeah.
real good crew work there to keep this
Without
match
question.
alive. And at some point, C's going to need to lead the jibe back here at some point. Nichols doing a good job there of coming high through that chop just to keep the hull speed.
Yeah, that was a great move by Sienna, coming up like that to keep her wind clear and keep her speed on. So here goes C jibing. I wouldn't go too far, Sienna.
I wouldn't jibe there. Looks like you're jibing in the dirt. If you don't lead the jibe, I think you got to extend out.
Exactly.
However, real good job to do a hot jibe though, so they're able to come up hot. But I think C's got a good chance of getting
do
out.
Another one here. She's got a jibe. Yeah, I mean that was almost half a boat length too late.
Yeah, so they're a long way course right as you're looking up the wind. So there's a lot of starboard to come back to the line here. So if I was C, I'd want to be able to do a lot of covering on the opposite jibe. So if I were Nichols here and covered, I would almost consider jibing out as soon as you think that Spinnaker's going to go and just run into the pin. So you can see the pin end over there is a long way over. I'd want to lead on starboard here.
Yeah, the key to the boat behind is to try to lengthen the race.
There's going to
And
be a
oh,
flag
look at
here.
this.
So he
Terrible jibe on Sienna Nichols' crew. Now it's Phil.
Watch the umpires.
So C was overlapped at a point there. However, Nichols has broken clear ahead. In match racing, there is no Rule 17. So as soon as you get an overlap, once you give appropriate time to avoid, you have full luffing rights.
Oh, this is exciting, guys.
So here, it looks like they are laying the finish here. So as long as Nichols can just keep surfing these waves as she's doing right now, not a lot C can do.
Well, that's the converse of what I was saying, which basically is that the boat behind wants to lengthen the race by jibing back into the middle of the course much earlier. Sienna, on the other hand, if she can take the other boat to the lay line, then she's going to win no matter what. And now they're going to have to jibe again. So that wasn't quite, she's going to win, but boy.
Just.
Can't get much closer than that. Well, I'll tell you what, if our viewers don't like a race like that, then, you know, put on the
America's Cup.
Put on the America's Cup.
The Crotonic Racing in the America's Cup.
The best line of the day from Tom Eamon.
Oh, my goodness. That was a fabulous,
That really was.
a PhD level match racing exhibition. And also, if we may say, a great recovery after an unfortunate error. It's a knotty problem.
It's a knotty problem, yes.
On the Dylan C boat. Somebody didn't tie a knot properly. But bloody hell, a great recovery. Bloody hell, as you would say, Matt. Great recovery to get that spinnaker sheet around the forestay, get the kite over to the spinnaker sheet, get it tied back on, and get back in the match almost to where they wanted. Not quite. Boat length, maybe less than a boat length, Matt, to the finish, in the distance at the finish.
Yeah, I mean, just to be able to re-rig the boat that quickly meant they had a chance to be able to keep on going. So, like, real good job there, but, you know, I'm sure they're going to be checking all their knots.
I hope so. Okay, well, that finals, our grand final, as Matt's calling it, we've got Sienna Nichols from the Balboa Yacht Club is up 1-0 over Dylan C. of the Newport Harbor Yacht Club. I know people are watching it at both clubs. I'm getting texts literally from around the world. Great time of day for coverage of our sport. It's almost 1 o'clock here, 1300, off the beach here in Newport Beach in the Pacific Ocean. So it's +8 in London, +9 on the continent of Europe. So 10 o'clock at night in Europe, if you're watching there, thank you for joining us. And down under, where it is Monday, and they're -5 to us in Auckland, so 8 in the morning there and 6 in the morning in Sydney. Welcome to all of you. I am literally getting texts from around the world. Matt, what do you think?
I mean, that was a good race, exciting race. I think both boats have shown that they've got their strengths. I think, like you said, on that second upwind, looks like C might have a slight speed advantage on the upwind. I think he looks like he's sailing in a slightly lower groove. So, and his crew look like they're hiking a little bit harder. So they look like they've got a little bit of a gain on the beats. And then on the downwinds, Nichols looks like she's a little bit faster.
Touch faster.
You know, over the course, net across the whole race, it's going to be whoever executes the strategy better. But, you know, it's very, very exciting. And, you know, 1-0, there's potentially 4 more races to go. If there's penalties for damage, maybe even more.
In the Petite Finale, Team Pine is ahead of Team Strom 1-0 as the race committee now have displayed code flag F, Foxtrot, the attention signal, the 7-minute signal for the first match, which we believe will be Pine Strom, their second match of the Petite Finale, the Consolation, to determine third and fourth.
So this one first to 2 points. So Pine on match point here. If Pine wins, he's going to be able to claim third place in a podium finish. Strom needs to win this race to keep it alive and get it to a first to 2, so 3-race series.
James Pine, Nathan Pine, William Baker, Addison Fisher from the South Carolina Yacht Club. Talking again with the kids this morning on the dock, and they are all from within or around Charleston, South Carolina, but they also sail about a 2.5-hour drive out to Hilton Head, where actually the South Carolina Yacht Club is located. Great hotbed of yacht racing there in and around Charleston, including the College of Charleston, and one of the top collegiate programs in the U.S. of A. The other team, of course, is the Harrison Strom's team from the San Diego Yacht Club, the esteemed San Diego Yacht Club, just down the shore from us, about an hour and a half by car. And the San Diego Yacht Club, of course, won the America's Cup, Dennis Connor's Stars and Stripes, in 1987 in Perth. And Fremantle brought the cup back, defended it in 1988 in the Big Boat Challenge from New Zealand. Dennis had catamarans in a deed of gift match. Defended it again in 1992, Bill Koch actually sailing for San Diego Yacht Club, and then lost the cup in 1995 to Russell Coots, and the New Zealand team, Magic was the name of their boat, took the cup to New Zealand from San Diego Yacht Club, and that's the the story of that fabulous club down in SoCal, one of the best clubs certainly in this country, if not the world.
So we got the 10-minute signal has just gone for the final. So that's also the 5-minute warning for the Petite finale. So that Japanese-looking flag is numeral pennant 1. So that means 5 minutes to go. So when the boats will enter in 30 seconds, when the 4-minute the blue Peter goes up. So
okay, now come on, we got to tell everybody what the blue Peter is. They'll think it's some kind of a venereal disease.
The blue Peter is the pennant P, not pennant.
That's what you Brits call code flag P, the preparatory signal, the 4-minute signal.
Which is going to go up in about 10 seconds.
The blue Peter.
So all will be revealed.
We're getting, after 6 hours yesterday and an hour and a half today, I apologize if we're getting a little loosey-goosey here. Maddie Whitfield, does our television, does our broadcast get a little lift from an authoritative English voice? Always. Chris Bretschger.
So here, it looks like the line's quite short, so the boat's coming in. With this extra breeze here, the boats can plane with 2 sails, so and really surf on these waves. So they really come together quickly, so that port entry needs to be real on time. And you could see there that the blue entry, which is Strom, was very close to having get hit by Pine, which was just simply because the boats are coming in so fast, he had to get out the way. Pine did protest, and the umpire's green flagged it, but you really have to be on it if you're the port entry to get in on time. So as they break the dial up with 3:10 to go, definitely looks like a go right track. However, it is relatively soft in the bottom right-hand corner here, so they definitely need to pay attention to a couple of the holes in the water.
We could have a little break here. We don't have to fill the air with our dulcet tones every second of the broadcast. It's just a fabulous afternoon and a great day to be alive on the Pacific Ocean, Andrew.
Yeah, we have our dictionaries out. We're looking for longer words.
Only you guys that went to Stanford are
to make this.
that.
Well, that's true. We know all the long words.
Those of us that went to public schools like the University of Michigan,
Yeah, that unknown,
we just grunt and groan.
non-academic University of Michigan being one of the finest public universities in the world.
Oh, you're too kind. That's very nice. At least we're not an agricultural college like Michigan State University.
Yeah.
Oh, now I've insulted half my friends
Well,
and family.
that's not very nice, Tom. No, I was insulting my Cal friends by saying Michigan is the best public university.
One of the best, you said. And Cal certainly is one of the best. Cal Berkeley up in the Bay Area. What's going on here, Matthew?
So they're just circling around trying to get an advantage. So they're about 35 seconds from the line. So Strom coming back, 1:35 to go. So I think a lot of time to burn. Maybe even see another circle here. I think Pine's trying to take the windward separation. So if you're windward and separated, you can try and bring the game in. Whereas if you come and engage, that thinks it's a bit harder to keep the time ticking over. Whereas Strom wants to kill time. So you see he's trying to sail away from the line, just trying to eat up time. Every second he sails away from the line, that's a second away, and it's 1 more second to come back. So it's a 2-to-1 burn easy there.
That's a very good point, Matthew.
So 1 minute to go. They're maybe 30 seconds from the line still. So Strom, although they have been sailing from right to left as you're looking on up the course, they haven't been getting closer to the line. So Strom doing a good job of killing time here. If he's able to hold this hook here, he can really eat up time and get the boat slow. So I think pretty good position for Strom here, as long as he can keep the hull speed up and just not let Pine roll over.
Yeah, he has to. I would start luffing right now.
I think he's a little bit worried about just being a little bit slow. I think Pine's just a little bit separated, that he's not fully affected.
I think I would be coming up. I'd be in full pinching mode. There he goes. There he goes. Because as we've said before, the boat on your screen on the left has no place to go if he can continue to stay close and force him up. And he's going to choose to go down and get speed again.
I think this is okay because Pine is going to have to be slow. So I think
Yeah.
a high build is probably the move there, and he's maybe doing a low build.
Well, let me say one more thing, and why I generally, and you've heard me before, say I would hold that luff a little longer, and part of it is the psychology. The boat that is in trouble, just every second builds in, oh my God, oh, what are we going to do? Oh. I think just that little extra stuff to show that you really have them in a dark place, basically.
Yes, see, I would say the aim of what the leeward boat there is trying to do is just as long as you can get slow, you've won the start.
Right.
So as long as you can get
Yeah,
the boat slow, it
fair
doesn't
enough.
matter when you accelerate, as long as you're not over the line.
I just think that in
Yeah.
that position, if you wait a little longer, your advantage will be a little larger. And that's all I'm saying, that don't be in a hurry to start. Just talk about the positions of the boats. But anyway, it's come out very well for them.
Real good job off this. Once they did go on to port, they've done a low mode and gone really
Yep.
fast over the top and been able to get bow forwards and be able to dictate that Pine is going to have to tack in their dirt if he wants to.
Yep.
And they're not really at risk of getting any dirty wind from Pine, despite being the windward boat here.
Yeah, they've done it. You're absolutely correct. They've done a great job. Okay.
And we're now into the second match of the finals, the grand final, as Matt Whitfield calls it. Nichols ahead, up 1-0. In Michigan, we'd call it a barn burner.
It was a barn burner.
Nichols ahead of C in that first match just by a boat length or so, and now they're in a dial-up for the second match, first to win 3.
So they've switched ends this time. So C is now the blue entry, so the port boat. So boat 11 is C, and the other side, yellow entry, is Nichols. So you can see C getting worried about his bow. He thought about a steel balls and couldn't quite get into it. So got his bowman to go jib right, push it out, and spin that bow round left. And real good job here from C to build up and match the speed of Nichols, so Nichols can't get away and get back at him.
So, as is more often than not in a dial-up situation, no real advantage yet for any boat in this kind of breeze. She has enough distance to jibe or do whatever she wants. So, not a great.
Yeah, so most dial-ups come out with no real advantage. Almost, in a way, I think one of the innovations with the reaching entrances into that the America's Cup has could work in monohull match racing.
Well, before your time, Matt, there was the rules were a little different. So you couldn't hunt the other boat, and by that I mean aim towards them, which is legal as long as you give them room and opportunity to keep clear.
The right-of-way boat.
The
could
right-of-way
not
boat. So
aim to them and try to.
So we would end up circling, and when you come out of the circle on starboard, the other boat is still on port. You have to hold your course basically and not hunt them, and so that caused the circles basically. So there were no dial-ups back in the day, but we did some things early on that we would reverse the circle at a time when the other boat didn't quite understand that, and then it was a starboard port. And back then, if they fouled like that at the start, then that was the end of that race. Made for short days.
So interesting here. I think both people want to. It seems like C wanted to be to windward there, and Nichols didn't really want that to happen. So they kind of did a few reverse circles and everything. So coming back in, I think looks like a good position for C here. 1:15 to go, 1:10 to go, and they're still at least 30 seconds from the line, and with the ability a long way above this ley line, so C should be able to burn a lot of time here. I think Nichols might have come back to the line a little bit late there.
Coming up on 50 seconds to go.
So 45 seconds to go, maybe 25 seconds to the line. So as soon as they get inside the ley lines, this game opens up a lot more. But Nichols needs to get there, which I think C is right on the edge of being able to get the shutout now. I think with these waves, they might struggle to. So this is very similar to the last start with C leading in, Nichols following. So hopefully, for C's point of view, he's figured out what he did wrong the last start and is able to correct that.
Well, you can see what's going on here. This is a great example of what the rule requires. There is no overlap. In other words, looking at the boats in that way, Nichols was clear astern, so there's no right-of-way situation there. And then now you look, there's a little bit of almost an overlap here, but it's a little late. So she couldn't hook him, meaning that get to leeward and force him over the line or something like that. So she has to get out of there right away.
So slight advantage, C off the line. However, Nichols able to lead to the right.
Yep.
However, as we noticed on the previous beat, looked like C had a low and fast mode, and that's the mode you want here. So very much 50-50.
Also, her tack there was superb.
Mm-hmm.
That was just, she hardly lost any speed. So now she will be trying to crawl up basically whenever she has the chance, and you basically think about the puffs, and if you get a puff, you can actually tighten the gear a little bit, pull the sails in a little bit, and gain some weather.
Some gauge.
Some gauge, exactly.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you,
C is low and fast.
C is going fast there.
If C goes bow forward, which it looks like he's managing to achieve, then he's getting a slam dunk here like we saw in the last start.
Exactly.
So this is a key part of the race here. Whoever gains the next 1 or 2 feet relative is really going to be controlling, which
and
I think
he's
C
done
is
it.
doing it.
I think he's done it,
Yeah, she's in his bad air now.
Not quite, but is about to be. Yeah, he's done it. Well,
Yeah,
that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Great camera work, guys.
So in the Petite finale, it's Strom leading to the top mark with a reasonable lead, probably at least 3 or 4 boat lengths.
Now look at this. This is interesting. So as we predicted, Sienna Nichols had to tack away, and Dylan C is continuing up the course. There he's tacked.
So I think that was smart from C there, because if Nichols would, he said, if you want to keep on going on this tack, you'll get near the boats coming downwind, which is another half boat length loss, and he's probably going to the favored right side. So kind of indicates he wants the right-hand side, and he's okay to let Nichols go left.
He's just forced her to
Well,
the
that
left
time he
tack.
tacked right on her air, so she had to go right away. And that's, again, it's in this condition, he's controlling the whole race because he can keep going to the right and will always have the starboard advantage even if she gets a little lefty or gets close. So,
yeah, I think here if you're Nichols, the aim is keep it tight, keep it within 2 boat lengths, and that's your aim from here. You're not trying to win to this top mark.
Yep.
You're just trying to be as close as you can so as you can hunt them on the downwind, which we've seen. I know they overtook in that final downwind through the spinnaker going wrong, but you know they've looked fast all week, and particularly on that first downwind, they gained a bit. So keep it close, and you can attack.
Just a quick note from up the track coming downwind on leg 2. Team Strom is leading the Petite Finale. They're behind in the series, 1-0 to Pine, but Strom now leading with a pretty comfortable lead into the gate. And looks like they'll even this one up at 1-1.
again, I don't think terribly surprising, Tom, in most good match races. The top of the fleet, when you get to the semifinals, they are so equally matched.
Exactly.
That, you know, and it's great for us. We get to see these great match races here out on a champagne conditions day,
Oh,
Tom.
you said it. You
I know
finally
I said it. I
And
know.
you know what it is? It truly is. Chamber of Commerce
Yep.
conditions here in Newport Beach, California.
In the morning, it was Prosecco conditions,
Well,
but now
maybe.
it's champagne.
So I think real good job here by C here, probably extended another length or two, just keeping that boat going fast. And I think here he's pretty close to starboard lay, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him continue on starboard and say, you guys have to do 2 more tacks than me. That's another boat length. And then as well, it gives his crew time to get the spinnaker ready to go on this before they round this top mark, whereas Nichols is probably going to have to do a tack set, and that's probably a little loss.
Yeah, there's the mark at the top of your screen.
It's a real smart move there by C, just to come in slightly below the lay line and just say, you can go above me, you can try and get in, but if you don't make any gain, you're going to lose a little bit on crew work.
Andy, how old is Dylan C? He's at Stanford, so he's, what, a freshman, sophomore?
I think he's going to be a sophomore, I think.
So 19, 20?
I don't think 20. I think probably
19?
Yeah,
3
I
years
think.
older than
I'm
Sienna
sorry,
Nichols.
folks. We should have that.
Someone text me if you know his age.
Yeah, his age. But he has, I guarantee, he has another few years in the Governor's Cup, and he's going to be a factor. I mean, there's no question.
Exactly.
He's a brilliant sailor. His dad was a brilliant sailor at that school.
His dad also was at Stanford,
Was
right?
at Stanford, yeah.
And Ken Sherb is checking that for us, our
Excellent.
spotter and also statistician.
I'll tell you, another beautiful set by C. After that, mix-up with the spinnaker on the last one, that was textbook. I mean, just remember what I said. You want the spinnaker, ideally, an hourglass on.
It should pull out.
It should pull out, but when you turn the mark, if you can have the spinnaker set and flying by the time your stern leaves the mark, that's a perfect set. And Dylan C. and his crew did that.
And Sienna lost another boat length.
She did.
By having that hourglass.
Yep, without question.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, when you're behind, you have to do everything perfect to give yourself the chance. So,
Yep.
you know, here, Sienna just making it hard, and Dylan and C and his team just really doing a good job of sailing the boat fast and extending as much as they can.
Apropos the shackle knot discussion we had in the last race, I've heard from the bosuns who said there ain't no shackles on our boats.
Yep.
At least not on the spinnaker sheets.
Well, I wish we had had that at the Congressional Cup.
It's knots. The spinnaker sheets are tied to the clews, the corners, the lower corners.
Well, maybe somebody didn't know how to tie a bowline, maybe.
I'm sure they've put some tape on that knot this time.
Yeah. Yeah, and Sienna, her jibe there, you know, not as crisp, and you know, it's tough when you're. I mean, Dylan has a pretty significant lead here, and it's tough but important to stay in the game.
You know, we keep saying this is day 3, but it's really day 5 because they've been out on the water being coached in this, what we again call a clinic regatta, and Jeffrey Peterson, our co-commentator and 2-time winner of the Gov Cup, was here coaching, is still here coaching. Beautiful scene last night of him after the race giving a post-race debrief with, thank you, with the kids and watching the video on a big screen television and a chalk talk in the model room at Balboa Yacht Club. So they're even learning at night, each night. And this is the 3rd and final day of racing, but they've actually been at this for 5 days. So I suspect they're starting to get a little tired.
Yeah, I would imagine, but
yeah, they've been doing 12, 13, 14-hour days, just getting all the learning on and off the water, so definitely tiring.
Now, Dylan C., Ken Sherb is telling us, is 18 now, and he turns 19 in August.
Great.
So
yeah, that's what I thought. So he's going to be a sophomore.
2 or almost 3 years older than Sienna.
Depending on when in August, he may have either, 19, 20, 21, 20. He may have either 4 or 5 Governor's Cups to go.
Because our age limit in Gov Cup is
the last day of the regatta.
But it's also 23.
Yep.
Instead of 21, which you cannot have turned 21 in the year of this event to sail in the Rose Cup, and you must be minimum 16.
Yep.
Because I think we had it when I was doing Gov Cup. Claire Costanzo was young enough by about 3 days.
Yeah.
And she was worried that you were going to delay by a week for some reason. She was going to become too old.
Well, maybe it's an Australian thing because Sam Gilmore was in the same position, that he made it by 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, December is when the August are done. So, you know, maybe they have a good start of summer.
Yeah.
But is it now the year of the event for Gov Cup as well, or is
it's the last day of the regatta? Let's talk about our friend Claire Costanzo. Claire is from Australia, from the Royal Prince Alfred Yacht Club, and just was a tremendous competitor here, Tom, for 3 years, I think.
Yes.
And just did very well and had an all-women crew. I remember our coach Jeffrey Peterson, and the world champion and 2-time Governor's Cup winner. He was, I think, 15 or 16. And that's when we still had boat hostesses, and for a women's team, boat hosts. And so Jeffrey was trying to help us on the boat here, but there'd be a lull in the action. He'd say, "Can I swim over to them?" And so he would. He'd swim over and see all the gals on Claire's boat. But great person. She still sails big boats down there, and I think she's done Hobart, and just fun. Just really fun.
Speaking of Aussie, I heard overnight from Will Bolden, Coach Will Bolden from out in Perth in WA, Western Australia, and he's hoping to get back here this summer. He's coached a couple of Australian teams over the years at Gov Cup, and he adds shall we say, a bit of flair, a bit of liveliness.
He does.
Yeah, Will texted me as well last night, and he said, "Get ready, it's going to happen, chaos, full stop."
He's very impressed with the production that Chris Bretschker and his Gov Cup TV team are leading. Dylan Bartels, who's added to the team this year, doing technical direction. He's switching the show and also handling the audio, which gives Chris more time to smoke cigars and kind of look around and look like a super producer of the Academy Awards.
Yeah, my only
He
problem.
reaches for a cigar as I speak.
Unfortunately, Dylan represents just one more person who's involved with this thing. When they start talking to Bretzker and some of the others, I have no clue what they're talking about.
Coming into the finish, I don't know if we can get that, but this is not such a close match. I believe that Team Strom has led all the way around the track. Is that right, Kenny? Strom will take the win here now. The yellow kite about to cross the finish line, and they will tie up the Petite consolation match at 1-1, first to win 2.
So the rubber match will be the next race.
Do you play bridge? Did you ever play bridge?
I did.
Were you good?
Well, we played at Stanford. We played drunken bridge.
What's that?
Well, you go out to the Rats and have some beers, and then come back to this other fraternity at 1 in the morning and start playing bridge.
And?
Well, it was fun, we think.
I'm surprised you didn't come back and play chess. Only at Stanford. At Michigan, we came back and played other things after we.
Actually, I'll tell you
one
one other story about bridge at Stanford is after we graduated, one of my fraternity brothers, Keith Loken, joined the State Department and was at one point based in Kuwait. And so we would have a few drinks and play bridge and then call the embassy and say 3 clubs down 2. and that's all. Because we figured he was in the CIA. And so,
he had a camera on you or something, or was listening in. Harrison Strom's team now have tied this up. Sabrina Anderson sailing with him, Kevin Cason, and Wyatt Kelly to Coach John Rogers down there, who's doing a great job at San Diego Yacht Club as a Fozy, a friend of Sailing Illustrated, helped me with some inside knowledge about that team from the SDYC. And, of course, the other team is James Pine's team from the South Carolina Yacht Club. James and his twin brother Nathan, William Baker, and Addison Fisher tied 1-1 in the Petit Finale. But let's go back and have a look now at the finals, and it looks like Dylan C. is well on his way coming down leg 4 to tie this one up 1-1.
Yeah, this is the final downwind. Whoever leads across the finish line should do it, and C is probably 6 boat lengths ahead, probably far enough that he's not going to get any. Nichols is unable to give any dirty wind onto him, but, if they can surf a wave in these conditions, you can gain a boat length in a wave if you can surf it. So occasionally you can see a massive swing, but unlikely. Yeah,
unlikely. I think Dylan's doing exactly the right thing. When you have a reasonable lead in a match race, just sail conservatively.
Hey guys, I'm sitting here in awe of the cruise and the sailing and the conditions, the boats, to say nothing of the commentary. But
best to say nothing.
Yes, exactly. Seriously though, look at the boat handling. Watch this jibe. Look at the movement pre-start in both in the crew and the helm and the steering the boat with the sails. These kids are 16, 17, 18 years old. And this is why match racing, those of you watching around the world, if you don't have match racing at your clubs, in your national federation, you should, because this is teaching kids tactics, boat handling, and much more. Fantastic aspect of our sport, especially in boats with spinnaker poles, Andrew, and what we call symmetric spinnakers, symmetric kites, not A-sails.
Yeah, and that's sort of when we built these boats, got them designed, and I talked to Dave Perry, our 5-time United States match racing champion, and the guy that helped the Rose Cup become a national championship. A lot of the modern boats, including the 50-footer that my partners and I have, are used now in bigger boats, use asymmetrical chutes all the time, where you don't have a spinnaker pole, you have a bowsprit, and they're really fun in the whole thing. And I knew what he was going to say, but I wanted to hear it. I said, so should we go with ASOs? Dave Perry says, no, they have to be symmetrical chutes. And that's because of the tactics. Yeah. It is much harder. Like on these downwind legs, we've seen some incredible things that could never happen if you had asymmetrical chutes.
Price?
Because you have to sail very high with ASOs, basically, and it's much harder to get on someone's wind. So this is great.
Chris, I mean, any number of sailors, but particularly Harry Price was so fast, the Australian winner, downwind, so quick, and likewise Jeffrey Peterson.
Jeffrey Peterson, yeah.
Has a real track record for being quick and getting on the air of the boat ahead. You did not, as you said earlier today, Andy, you do not want to round the weather mark ahead by only 2 boat lengths ahead.
With either Harry Price or Jeffrey Peterson.
Either of those guys.
Exactly.
And there is the finish. Matthew, who's going to win this? It's 1-1.
I'm more confident saying it will be 3-2 to someone than who's going to win it. So
I think you're right.
But I think if I were to guess, I think I'm going to say Dylan C.
Now, there will be some thinking that we've rigged this to keep it close, but this is not the NBA. This is not some other sports that we can think of. These kids are just, I don't usually get too excited about watching sailing, yacht racing.
Or about anything, actually, Tom.
Or that matter, for anything.
Yeah.
I'm old and but after watching yacht racing up close and personal, including a bunch of America's Cups for 50-plus years, this is just a great breath of fresh air, a BOFA.
Without question. Without question. This is just to see this kind of talent, but the tactics and how close the boats are. I remember, Tom, with the America's Cup, the current America's Cup, I watched the first one when it was in Auckland, and you had on Sailing Illustrated a watch party. And I remember at one point one of the boats upwind fell off its foils. And my comment was, well, I've blown tacks before, but I've never lost 750 meters doing it.
Or more.
Yeah.
Another shout out while I was speaking of BOFAs, or breath of fresh air, to the Vice Commodore of the New York Yacht Club, Claire Harrington, who is also a big fan of youth sailing, of match racing. She is sailing from Cutty Hunk in the Elizabeth Islands over to Martha's Vineyard. And she texted this morning saying, BZ, Bravo Zulu, the code flags for excellence, for in praise of performance. Well done to the whole team here, the sailors, the race officials, the bosuns led by, without the bosuns, we don't have boats that are just superb, and they're not breaking, they're just fabulous, to say nothing of the television team and all of Christine Gribbins, volunteer team here at the Balboa Yacht Club, hosting the 2025 Youth Match Racing National Championship, a.k.a. Rose Cup.
Well, I got to talk to Tom, that told me about Claire Harrington, who's the Vice Commodore of New York, and gave us that night shout-out this morning. But she's about to be the first female Commodore of New York since the, I think, 1840, something like that, when the club was founded. And Tom had told me about her. Well, I got to meet her in mid-May back in the other Newport, Rhode Island. And I'll tell you, she's everything you said and more. She is going to be, talking about a breath of fresh air, she is going to be an unbelievable Commodore of that club. And what an incredible thing. I mean, I think it's just wonderful. She's everything. So, I mean, she's bright and funny and on. And you can just tell that, she's got plans and she's going to do stuff. And I'm excited. I had to finally joined the New York Yacht Club after all the people that remembered I had sailed for Australia in the America's Cup.
You were worried if they'd let you join.
Yeah, had died, and so they all did, and so finally I could join. So I've been a member for 15 years or something like that. It's a great club, and all the Commodores are great. The neat thing about New York is all the Commodores race sailboats. And
it's a serious racing club,
yeah.
And they do a great job now with young people at Harbor Court in Newport, Rhode Island. A lot of young family-oriented racing and sailing activities. Claire was the Commodore at Vineyard Haven Yacht Club in Martha's Vineyard long before she was Vice Commodore, now Rear Commodore previously of New York. She also was the first female race committee chair, and as you said, Andy, racing is the raison d'etre at New York Yacht Club, and to be the race committee chair, male, female, or otherwise, is a huge honor.
Yep.
And she is a BOFA, a breath of
Well, I'm
fresh
excited.
air.
I've liked a lot of the Commodores there. I mean, the first one I really got to know was Phil Lotz. And, Phil was a great guy. Phil sent us, when we built the boats on our 50th anniversary, we built these Governor's Cup 22s. Phil sent us $1,000, which was awesome. I mean,
Phil and Wendy Lotz, two of the great people in the modern
And
history.
it meant so much to me that they cared about something like this, and they were willing to help out of the blue. And so I love that club. I love Balboa Yacht Club, but my other clubs, St. Francis and Fort Worth.
And the Beach Street Yacht Club.
And the Beach Street Yacht Club.
Shout out to Julia Vedekent, who's the Commodore of the Beach Street Yacht Club. She's watching. She's also a breath of fresh air.
She is indeed. Another Stanford chick,
She's
She's
a
awesome.
Stanford chick.
She's a Stanford chick. But, Julie is awesome. We go back a long way when her husband was alive, and they followed the 6-meter programs. And so she was there in Switzerland when we had no wind, but that was good because she can entertain.
She can entertain the spots, the stripes off a zebra.
Exactly.
As Matt Whitfield rejoins us here on the we can't say the commentary booth because we're on the flybridge. We're in the upstairs here, up top on the yacht Adios. And before we go covering this third flight of the Petite Finale, no, it's the third flight, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the winner takes all flight here.
Yep.
And I just want to say that the owner of this boat, Adios, on which we are ensconced, is the parents, the dad and mom of Chris Bretschker, our producer, director, and his parents have checked in with me from now in Canada. I believe they're at the family home, Chris, up on Lake Erie. And I've had the pleasure of being at that home just near Buffalo Canoe Club, and it's a fabulous spot. They wish everybody well. They're watching it, and Chris, they're even more impressed with you and your team. And they're biased, of course, but we'll accept their bias. Commodore Peter Bretschker and Kari.
Kari is the executive craft services director and could not join us this weekend because she's out in a lovely place.
She's under pressure from Hayden Wolk.
But Hayden Wolk and our chair, Christine Gribben, who is multi-talented, the two of them are holding up the fort. And Kari, they're doing okay. We're not going to replace you, but they're doing okay.
Meanwhile, with 1:40 to go to the start of this third, it's 1-1 tied, Pine and Strom. Let's go to our play-by-play man, Matty Whitfield.
So yeah, we got the boat's relatively close to the line here, so they're about 25-30 seconds from the line, and they're 1:30 to go, so a lot of time to burn here. Strom to leeward, who's overlapped to leeward and trying to keep a swing here. So Pine just trying to stay up, is the giveaway boat, just trying to keep these boats moving in as much as possible if you're the lead boat here. So here, if Pine is to bail away on port, Strom is going to try and follow him. If he doesn't think he can get that, he's going to have to bear away and try and come back at him. So Pine here trying to burn time, going to lead back to this line. Sorry, Strom. So here the dangerous Strom might get too low in the box here, so Pine is able to roll over the top. So Pine wants to try and keep the lateral separation. Strom trying to close that down. So here they still got about 25 seconds to the line here, 30 seconds to go. So Pine is going to really have to try and go full speed here through this dirt here to try and get to the line.
He's in trouble.
I think there he's got to try and keep his bow up and keep the breeze clear.
He's in trouble.
So here, advantage Strom right now, but still a couple of seconds to burn. Although there is a slight bit of port bias on the line, so Strom's okay. If he needs to go low and fast, he can always work down to that pin. However, here with the go right track, I think here Strom's got to try and bounce Pine back onto starboard tack here.
Slam dunk. That was a great start. At this level, as we were saying, it's somewhat unusual for one boat to have a slam dunk, what I call a slam dunk start, over the other when you get to the top of the fleet in the semifinals. But that was brilliantly done.
Perfect.
It was really good.
Yeah,
time and distance, Matthew, time and distance.
Yeah, he drew Pine in. Pine got sucked in and then took the dirt and was just, late to the start.
No place he could go.
Yeah. From 30 seconds on, that was always going one way as long as Strom wasn't early.
Well,
and Strom did a real good job of not being early.
Even if he had tacked, Strom could have covered him immediately. And I've always said that the best thing in the world is get in a tacking duel when you're leading before the start, because you just force the other boat back and has very little runway.
I'd say the best thing in the world is to get a black flag.
Well, yes,
on the other boat.
That's the best.
You don't need to do anything then.
Well, you better explain the black flag.
So a black flag is when you get 3 penalties to one boat. So the race just is called quits, and the boat that has the 3 penalties is automatically lost. So that the other boat does not need to complete the course.
Okay, so we're back here with
This is the final, Nichols and C. Nichols blue, port entry on the left of your screen, C to the right, yellow entry in boat 11. Standard dial up here. C in a real good position here with his bow roughly on the shrouds of Nichols. Nichols just trying to get going backwards here and then maybe be able to make C have to do something about it. So C electing to tack out because Nichols' bow was a little bit left there. So I think he did a good job there. He went, your bow's left, I'm going to get out. But Nichols had backwards flow, so she was able to spin the bow around and able to follow out.
So again, no real advantage out of the dial-up, but the worst thing you can do at a dial-up is fall into the other boat or make some, difficulty with either the rudder or the sails. And so, that's a good result for both boats, basically.
I think one of the key things about these boats compared to, match racing bigger boats is these boats, you can really spin them easily with the jib.
Yep.
Whereas if you're in a bigger boats like they have up in Long Beach for the Congressional Cup, the Catalina 37s, it's a lot more crew logistics with the wheel. There's a lot less feel on the rudder. So it's a lot of a different thing. Whereas in these boats, you can really get the jib left and right and spin it about.
No, and there's some arguments to be made for a slightly slower maneuvering boat is a better match racing boat, because when you get control of someone, you can keep it. But I like these boats. Yeah,
personally, I prefer the smaller boats. I think it adds more room, more maneuvers, more room for maneuvers if you have a smaller maneuverable boat.
Okay, here they go around us again here, with C still following.
So with 2 minutes to go, still Nichols deciding what time she wants to come back, and then it's up to C to decide does he want to lead or follow. So here C going for a tack round.
This is interesting.
He gets the lateral separation here, so that means he's able to sail into the line at full speed, and Nichols is unable to affect for a bit. So it's a good job to be able to try and bring the game in. However, at some point he does have to decide to come down.
Yeah, it's way early. So, I mean, they're right at the, they're, what are they, 20 seconds away from the line? Or
probably 35, 40 seconds.
Yeah.
So I think both, but they're pretty on a decent time. It's whoever does a good job of pushing or slowing down is kind of an advantage now. I think this is a reverse to what we've seen in the other two starts with C leading. So there is slightly different maneuvers here. Nichols just trying to get it going slow. C just trying to do those luff ups just to keep it near the line rather than let them get too far away. So here they're still above the ley line for this committee boat. Nichols is roughly on the high pinch out ley line right now, so C can't go in there. So C just going to have to feed Nichols down, and then now C can get off the line okay here if he wants to. So now it's all about C getting lateral separation and Nichols closing down lateral separation. I think that was good for Nichols there. C coming down just allowed Nichols to really kill time here. He just put himself in the dirt here. I think that means Sienna and her team can just go high, slow, really.
Boy, I'd luff him big time right now.
Yeah, I would make that jib go head to win.
Big time.
Yeah, because he can't tack out right now.
And,
and I would go for a tack with
she's
now.
Got speed. She's got to go. Yep, fair enough. And so now he cannot lay. I don't think he can lay. But her tack was slow, and he completed his tack and won the start. Oh boy, that's that's snatching defeat from the jaws of victory there.
I think C did a very good job there of tacking away and avoiding that. So he was the tacking boat, so if there's no collision, he can't get a penalty, and he's just going to ask the question, did the umpires agree that she didn't keep clear? The umpire said, yes, they did keep clear, so green flag racing, but C doing a good job there of just having better boat handling there, really.
Without question.
2 good tacks, gained a boat length from somewhere that Nichols, if she'd have stuffed him a bit earlier, I think he would have been hard for him to do that.
Well, you remember when I said she should go almost head to win at that point.
Yeah.
And just don't worry about when you have to start, just so you're not over. Just jam him, because he had no place to go. If he had tacked onto port right there, and she could have immediately tacked onto port because she would have stopped him, he couldn't have started.
Yeah, I think just that 2 or 3 second delay meant that C was going to be able to get his tack back on starboard, which that's again, like we've said a lot of times, like 1 or 2 foot, 1 or 2 split seconds. They're key in these match races where it's 2 high level teams.
Exactly, but that's what makes it fun. I mean, it's pretty amazing stuff. think of all the things that are going through their minds, and I've been there, and you have, Matt, and it's like Dave Perry said, it's like 11,000 volts of electricity shot up. Well, anyway, that's
Shot up what?
shot of something, I don't remember, but but it's thrilling. I mean, you are so on, you are thinking about nothing else but all the tactical things and all the boat speed things.
And he went to Yale. You would think he'd come up with something a little more urbane.
Well, you
than
would.
shot
I
up
was
your-
I was shocked when I heard him say
Exactly.
that.
I'm sure you were.
But all the Rose Cup sailors thought it was hilarious. They all got up and cheered.
Yeah, real good job again from C, just going fast up this beat. I think he was 1 boat length, 2 boat lengths, and now maybe 3 boat lengths, and leading to this right-hand side here. Does look like from the other boats going upwind that there's a bit of a right shift to the top, so again, that would be even more advantage C. So in the Petite finale, we've got Strom leading into the gates here, just dropping his spinnaker. So Strom maybe 4 or 5 boat lengths ahead of Pine here. Strom rounding the right turn gate, so going exiting on starboard upwind, and Pine looks like he's going to pick the other gate and then get a split. I'd expect to see Strom tack early as he does that. So not a great tack there. Looked like they kind of got stuck on their own wake.
Well, there were some waves there too.
You know, interestingly, these 4 teams that are in the final and the Petite finale all came out of the round robin as the top 4 teams as well. So no surprise what we're seeing. But the other group, the group below them, improved steadily throughout the event.
Without question.
Yeah, good job by Nichols there, picking up on a little left-hand shift just to get back into this race. Like here, although they're behind, they're in the zone where they could really attack if they keep it close here.
They are indeed, and as good as she's been downwind, she and her crew, she still has a shot here, but that's 2 tacks, 2 down speeds. That's not.
And some lump there that she tacked into.
Yeah, that'll hurt.
Yes, I think C was on the lay line there. Nichols was like, I'm just going to lose too much here, and just didn't think she could live there. So that's the disadvantage. If you do get to a lay line and you're trailing, eventually the lead boat's going to come and sit on you, and you're going to have to lose a boat length or 2.
Again, just like I said about the downwind leg, the boat behind wants to make the race longer. And the worst thing, and the upwind, you don't want to get to the ley line. If you had your ideal, you would have a tacking duel in the middle of the course rather than having to sail out to the ley line and follow the other boat in. And Matt, so you're exactly right. That's what happened. She had to tack, and unfortunately it was attacking in a wave pattern that she probably wouldn't have preferred, but unfortunately, otherwise you sail another 2 boat lengths past the mark.
Yeah, and real good job here of C. Just, C Nichols, when she's down speed out, when these boats aren't moving, they do slip sideways. And you can see she's almost gone back down to the line of C. C being up speed, just getting those foils working, able to climb up. And Nichols just trying to have to build that speed. So she's almost just lost backwards.
Well, it's also psychologically the boat ahead in that position can sail anywhere he wants, basically, to keep speed all the time and the whole thing. And the other boat will eventually fall closer to him. And the boat behind, Sienna is thinking, oh, God, we're behind, and I've got a pinch to stay above his air. And I go, it's a terrible position to be in, basically. Not a beautiful set.
Now, there was a set.
Yeah, another beautiful set by Dylan C.'s crew.
That's the last thing you want to see if you're following. You're looking, hoping for a wine glass.
A perfect set.
You're hoping something's gone wrong.
Yep.
But yes, all you can do now is just match and like the Nichols crew are doing right now, doing basically a perfect set
Another
as well.
great set. Yep.
So all you can do is just do everything right and just hope the other boat sails into a hole, catches a bad wave, just does a bad jibe, collapses a kite, has the spinnaker sheets come undone.
Yeah. Yep.
Because right now there's relatively consistent pressure across the whole course. It's not like early on yesterday where there was light patches. It's hard to make big gains. Really, the only big gains you can do is just surfing on a white horse. Just you happen to get the back, just break on you and just punch you down the wave.
A white horse indeed. White caps, Matthew.
White horses.
It's like the mane of a horse.
Chief umpire Katie Maxon talking about a family affair. She's the sister. She's Christine Gribbins, our regatta chair's sister. She is the chump, or the chief umpire here. and with a team of experts from around the world. I'll run their names by you in due course, but Melanie Nichols is on the Markset boat. PRO, our principal race officer, is Dr. Pamela Kreiser. I mentioned our bosun several times. Greg Newman, Father Greg Newman, who is also a director. He's on the board along with Christine Gribben. And senior serious people here out on the race course volunteering. Andrew, we talk about how our sport is volunteer driven, like Chris Bretschker's Gov Cup TV team, all volunteers, mostly all members of the club. What a great service to our beloved sport.
Well, no, that's not entirely true. They're all professionals. I pay them many zeros.
Yeah, many zeros.
In their paychecks.
You mean in their drink tab, bar tab?
Yep, 0.00. Well, it's a great group. It's great fun for us to do this. We hope you're enjoying it. Just to see this as a sailor and a match racer, I just love this. I mean, it's just so great to see the ability of these sailors. And the close racing we're having. I mean, consider close racing as opposed to, I forget what that big cup is, that match racing thing. I forget the name.
You can't help yourself criticizing the America's Cup. You sound like that commentator-in-chief on Sailing Illustrated who's had a few rants about the cup.
No, I didn't mention that name. I could have been talking about a lot of stuff. No, I was talking about the America's Cup. Great photography, guys.
So there, C just dropping early, just making sure that he's able to not have any major screw-ups. Maybe he was 7 boat lengths ahead, maybe it's 5 boat lengths now, but he's okay with that.
As we've discussed, I'd rather do something to be sure I stayed ahead than try to do something else and try to gain another 2 boat lengths. You don't need another 2 boat lengths.
Yeah, it's pretty hard here if you're Nichols because you've got C basically. You can either extend out with C basically able to be close to you, or then the other option is you to get into it, you tack out, and then he can give you dirty wind. So all you can do is do more tacks and hope for a mistake. Because every single time you do a tack, that increases the chance something can go wrong.
Yep.
But not a lot you can do outside of that. And you've got your crew looking at you going, why the hell are we doing so many tacks?
Well, if there is a difference in ability to attack, it could mean a big thing. If you're behind, that is one of the few things you can do on a windward leg, is try to stay in the middle of the course in attacking duel and try to be sure that you attack better than the other boats. That was one of our things in the Congressional Cups we were able to win, is if we can start better and tack better, then we're going to have a 60 or 70% chance of winning each race.
Commodores, ladies and gentlemen, we've got the yacht now coming into the finish with the yellow kite. That is Team Strom. They're about to win the Petite Finale. They're up. Well, they're tied 1-1 with Team Pine, but this is a first to win 2. And that means Strom and his team are going to win and be 3rd place overall.
Well, congratulations to them, Tom. You'll give us the names in a second here, and I'm very impressed with the way they sailed, and a podium finish is always a good thing.
It is, and for the reasons you mentioned earlier, because it does get you further up the list and on the radar screens of
you can see them.
Yep.
To his fist, they're very pleased, and well, they should be.
Harrison Strom on the helm, Sabrina Anderson, Kevin Cason, and Wyatt Kelly from the San Diego Yacht Club, and thanks again to John Rogers down there, the head coach, for providing us with some insight into that team. Look at that great excitement. I mean, they're subdued now, but when they came across the line, they were pretty excited, Andy, as they should be.
As they should be. I mean, that's...
And the 4th place team, therefore, will be James Pine, Nathan Pine, his twin brother, William Baker, and Addison Fisher, coming across the finish line. They haven't quite yet doused their green kite. And they will be the 4th place team here at the 2025 United States Youth Match Racing National Championship.
Well, we should mention that the top of these, we see I'm on the selection committee for the Rose Cup and the Governor's Cup, and we see the resumes of all these sailors. And so to get 3rd against a fleet like this, the top part of this fleet are some incredibly accomplished dinghy sailors who've won a lot of things. And so, this is a match race, and it's a little, new to some of them, but still, the top part of this fleet are great.
And C coming around the top mark with a good lead here, just on a tight lay there, able to get around. So made sure they made it, didn't have to do 2 tacks. Another little extension there. You saw they didn't quite get their pole on early, just because they were trying to make sure they were going to get there on time. And Real still did a good job with the set.
Well, and with the starboard tack boat coming up, you know, they want to stay as far away from Sienna at this point as possible. So that was a perfect thing to do a late set. Just a conservative move. Got a nice lead. Don't get involved with the other boat.
Yeah, with C rolling into a jibe relatively early, Nichols go behind to match, and then their real only option here is to get a major surf somewhere. There's no real way they can affect Dirty Breeze, so it's going to be tough from here.
She was going a little faster there for a bit, but unfortunately the lead is such that now he's up to speed. That's a pretty much impossible thing to do from there. So that will result in a 2-1 score. Is that right, gentlemen?
Mm-hmm.
There it is in the lower left corner. We've got a scoreboard up for you.
Yep.
Thanks to
No, thank you.
Chris and his team. That's 1-1 now,
Well,
but
yeah.
he's about to update it.
Well, but as he said, and rightfully so, wait till they cross the finish line. Sea monsters, Tom. Sea
Yes,
monsters.
sea monsters and fat ladies and
Yep.
singing.
Singing and all that.
But absent sea monsters or kelp or the mast falling down
Yep.
or the knot on the kite coming untied yet again,
Yep.
this one's over. This is in the bag for Mr. C and his team from the Newport Harbor Yacht Club, Dylan C., Kaya Hancock, Anton Schmidt, and Michael Sentovich. Good Slavic name, Sentovich. And they'll go up 2-1 over Sienna Nichols of the Balboa Yacht Club. Sienna, her twin sister Maddie, Kai Brennan, and Eddie Kleem. Who is sitting forward on her boat?
I think it's Eddie.
Is that Eddie Kleem? Is he quite a young guy?
Oh, yeah.
Slight guy? Okay, because he seems to be doing, when they've come circled around us, he seems to be doing a lot of the talking as the forward person, talking back to Sienna with almost tactician-like information.
We've seen that with teams doing that here, that the forward person actually, you know, looks for the shifts and all that kind of thing. So that may be what's going on there.
The big advantage of that is that you never have to really go heads in the boat to look at a sail. So you're just basically heads out the boat the whole time, with the exception of rounding marks. You just got to do 5 seconds of pole on hoist.
Because the middle two are trimming.
Because you have a main trimmer and a jib trimmer or a spinnaker trimmer mostly.
All right, well done to Dylan.
No sea monsters.
No sea monsters.
No knotty problems, and they have now taken the second win, up 2-1, making this a must-win for Sienna Nichols because it's first to win 3, and Dylan is on the cusp.
He is indeed.
If he can win one more.
Well, if Dylan does win this, he'd be the third, actually the third time a Newport Harbor Yacht Club sailor has won. Morgan Pinckney, who will be sailing in the Governor's Cup, has won 2. And Dylan, if he wins the next race, would be the third. So good for Newport Harbor Yacht Club.
And Andrew, may I ask you a question? Have we had 2, assuming he wins, which is we're a long way from that.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Let's speculate here for a sec. And if he wins, that means we would have 2 Newport Harbor teams because Morgan Pinckney is back in Gov Cup in 4 weeks' time. And then Dylan C. would be in Gov Cup. Have we ever had 2 teams from the Newport Harbor Yacht Club or any club in the Gov Cup at the same time?
Well, Royal New Zealand, yes. And I'm probably one of the Australians. But no Americans that I can remember, but I could be wrong. But, you know, kudos to Newport Harbor Yacht Club.
What's the rivalry between Balboa Yacht Club?
Well, it's a friendly rivalry. I probably know more Newport members than I know Balboa members.
Oh,
and,
come on, really?
You know, yeah, close to it. But
You own a boat with a Newport member.
I own a boat with a Newport member, but
Danny-
two other
Thompson,
Balboa members. Danny Thompson, who's a great ex-505 sailor and just a great guy. But Newport's great. We have a very friendly rivalry. We collaborated 2 years ago to host the National Sailing Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. we did a couple of the events at Balboa, and then moved over to Newport for the celebratory dinner Saturday night, and it was they're just wonderful people. It's a great club. And Dylan is just a great kid. In addition to going to Stanford, which is awesome, but he's just a really nice kid and a great sailor.
Speaks Mandarin. In fact, I was talking with we got two teams, two skippers of Chinese ethnicity here. The other, of course, from Balboa Yacht Club, Chi Yan, and he not only speaks English, of course, and probably better than I, but also Mandarin and Shanghaiese. I asked him if he spoke Cantonese or Taiwanese, or he said no. I speak Mandarin, and I said, how about Shanghai? He didn't even know that that anybody Guilo like me, a white man, that's a Cantonese for a ghost man, a foreigner would even know about Shanghaiese. But having been there a few times to China, and an up and coming yacht racing nation, by the way.
Indeed.
We have an umpire here, I should say, also, who's umpiring, who is Chinese. He used to go to UCI, and now I believe he's involved in a business. I'm sorry, I don't know his name. Jerry Xi, I think, or Jerry Zhu. Forgive me, I don't know his last name. But he is also Chinese, from Qingdao, which is where the Olympic yacht racing was held in 2004.
2008.
Was it 8? Where were the Olympics in 4?
Athens.
In Athens. Thank you, Matthew. There is a foxtrot signal on the race committee boat as we look at the three commentators here on the commentating couch in the back end of the yacht. Adios. Matthew, 7 minutes to what?
7 minutes till the first start. So the only start here is going to be the final. So between C and Nichols. C will be the C will be the blue boat, and Nichols will be the yellow boat this time. And this is a must-win race for Nichols. So if C wins this race, he wins the championship. If Nichols wins this, it goes to a winner-takes-it-all 5th match.
I wouldn't be at all surprised if it goes to 5. But right now, Dylan C., Matthew, what's he thinking?
I don't know. I'm not on his boat. So I'd imagine he's just going, we've got 2 races. One of them we need to make a good decision in. We need to win one start, sail one good beat, sail one good run, another good beat, and then another good run. That's all you got to do.
Do you think that makes you, for this race, do you think that makes you more aggressive at the start or less?
I think, to be honest, I don't think, if you believe that you're better than the other team, I don't think it should make a difference, because if you believe you're better, you're already over 50% chance of winning, so you just got to do that in one of the 2 next races. I think if you've won 2 races and lost 1 against someone today, what are you going to look at? You're going to go, well, what I've been doing, so keep going on it, unless he believes that he's been making mistakes, but I would just keep on doing what he's doing. I think he's been pretty aggressive in the boat handling maneuvers, so I think that works. So I guess, he would be aggressive, but he's definitely been throwing the boat around in the pre-start, and I think it's been working.
So the reverse of that coin, if you're Sienna, do you do a more aggressive start?
Again, I think it depends on where you think your weakness has been. I think for her, it's been upwind speed. So I don't think necessarily on the start you're going to change the game plan. They've both been pretty even off the starts overall. But you've just got to figure out a way to get upwind slightly faster. Whether that's the crew hikes harder, you run with more main sheet, more traveler up, just talk that through and figure it out.
Gentlemen, up the track. Left or right? Is it now late enough in the afternoon that still to go right, or are we going to see anything back from the left?
What's our wind direction?
So the wind has been relatively steady. There's been the odd right shift. So
240?
So
So it's gone a bit more right. So yeah, I'd go to the right.
You think it's going to go more right?
Maybe a hair.
More pressure from
maybe
the right?
Maybe a hair, but more pressure to the right, and you'll get some headers that you can tack on. So yeah, I think it's enough of that. And there are a lot of white horses out there now.
White horses, indeed. Describe to us where we are. We're just 100 and some odd, 50 maybe meters off. Do you call this the school course? Is that the elementary school there?
That's the elementary school.
And you call this the school course?
I'm not sure, but that's a good name for it.
I think that's what Dr. Don
Becker calls it. That.
Yeah.
And then we're between the 2 piers, the
right.
Newport Pier and the Balboa Pier.
Yeah. We generally like it. It is fascinating, but the breeze when you're in a sou'wester, there's less breeze in Laguna Beach, which is southeast of us, than there is here, and there's more breeze in Long Beach.
So see the boat on your left with the blue flag, port entry, Nichols to the right. So both boats trying to manipulate the boats with the jib there when it's down speed. That's what they've got to do. Nichols trying to roll with speed around the top and do a jibe round, and then hopefully for them get a luff. C just trying to build speed as fast as possible.
Oh, that was a nice maneuver.
Nice maneuver. However, C has just built enough speed, I think, there that he's able to give some dirt and he'll be able to reach off and get a jibe in.
Yeah, probably, but I'll tell you what, that was the best you can do in trying to get control there. That was a perfect jibe, and they kept speed through the whole thing, so really great work by Sienna and her crew. Yeah, I think he's maybe just, if she was another 3/4 of boat length closer to him, then she would control her. Now she's catching up a little bit. She got a little puff there.
I think C just has to jibe whenever he's fast, and he can also use the media boat that he's about to get at.
Right, it looks like they're going to use us.
So either way, it's not really a major concern here. So I think C just trying to hook them and trying to bait them in to go.
Okay, and Sienna deciding to go. Oh no! Look at this last-minute choice, which is a good thing. That would not be expected by C. So
that she'd come around our bow.
That she'd come around the bow, exactly. She looked like she was committed to come on the other side of the boat. So good move for Sienna there. Oh boy, that was close.
So I think that boom did fill, and the whole main did fill before Sienna had to avoid.
Yeah, but
there.
it was
So
awfully close.
Close.
Green flag?
Think it was a green flag. So coming back to the star line, so this boat's about 45 seconds from the line, probably, maybe 40. And we've got 1:45 to go, so a lot of time to burn here for C.
Just those last maneuvers, for those of you that aren't always match racers, those two maneuvers by Sienna were really brilliant. I mean, they were.
She's astonishing.
She's she's 16 years old and making moves like that are advanced match racing stuff.
Yeah, so here C thought he was a little bit early back, so just going to come around the committee boat again. I think now going around with 1:20 to go, he's going to be relatively late. I think I like the lead
look at this,
here.
he's going over the bow of us. I would have thought he would have gone around. I think he had time to do that.
You know, I've just watched them come around us. I think the main trimmer, second from the back, right in front of the skipper on C's boat, is calling tactics.
Really?
Yeah, I believe the guy in the red sweater. Yep. Who's that? That's probably, is that his brother, his twin brother? That's not twins. Oh, sorry,
no, there are
no twins on that boat.
No.
But Dylan's brother did sail in Rose Cup with Morgan in 2021.
But he's not on the boat now.
He's not sailing now. So 35 seconds, probably 25 seconds to the line here. I think Nichols in a good position whilst they're still above this ley line here. They should be able to get a shutout if they get up.
I think she may have overdone that.
So if C can roll over the top here, that's looking good for him. But if he can't, then Nichols is in a real strong position.
Yeah, he still thinks he's early. So she's gaining speed. He is now trying to pull his jib in, but he's going very slowly. And he has no place else to go. And she's giving him a good luff, which is exactly what I would do. But now she has to go. Now she has to go.
Yeah, I think C is just very aggressive in these accelerations, putting the bow down and getting up to speed, which I think
he'll
is
have to tack away from that, but still very well done by both teams. But C did that. He was in a difficult position there and did that very well. Just boat positioning.
I think here C just wants to work, 100 yards up to the left, and then he wants to peel off onto port. As soon as he thinks he's losing, let's go for the tack.
Look at how much flatter he is than she is.
I wonder if their team are a little bit heavier. I think most of the teams are relatively even on weight, but they definitely do seem to be able to get the boat flat.
Yeah, and there she goes. I would have said she took that boat length too far, as Jeffrey Peterson was saying yesterday. As soon as you just even think the wildest thing that you might be getting hurt, tack.
Otherwise, you're for sure going to get
hurt.
For
sure, you're going to get hurt. Yep.
Falling into from the weather hip.
No, but still, Tom, don't you agree? Those two maneuvers right on our bow were exceptional.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm sitting here thinking Gov Cup in 4 weeks' time, and I'd love to have the Canadians here.
Yep.
A great country and a great sailing country, and I hope the Canadian team does get here. But you know what? If they don't, and you end up with these two teams,
I couldn't agree more.
At the Gov Cup, I could not be happier.
I couldn't agree more. I think that's great. Well, I'll tell you, it is not hard to be, for us old match racers, it is not hard to be excited about what's going on here. And, it's like we get to watch. We have this great monitor now, and, we can stand up and watch, and we also see it on the monitor, and it's just fun to watch.
Well, and now that we're streaming, I mean, Chris keeps upgrading our television, Chris Bretschker, our television setup here, programming. We're streaming now at broadcast HD at 1080p, 30 frames a second. And I know that glazes your eyes over, Andrew.
Yeah.
But it's a fabulous looking program that we're putting out. And I'm hearing from people again all over the world who are so enjoying this. Unlike the America's Cup, they're not quite as sometimes. Ed Worley up in NorCal's watching, and he's not a big fan of the current America's Cup, where he says we've got people in hats,
people doing things,
and shirts, and you can see them. It's not whack-a-mole coming up out of cockpits. They're pulling sails up, they're trimming sails, they're pulling sails down, they're talking, they're circling. Fabulous stuff. Okay, enough great stuff about that.
Well, I was going to say, Tom, when you said that, criticizing the America's Cup, the great line of Tom Blackwell to Dennis Conner in one of the press conferences for the '83 Cup said, "Oh, Dennis, I wouldn't have said that."
Yeah. He's had a few more things to say than that.
Yeah.
Especially down in Fremantle in '86, '87.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry, the '87 Cup.
See how I saved you there?
You did.
Politely.
Thank you. Politely. That's good.
Politely.
So I think one thing to notice on this, where the boats have been matched on upwind speed, Nichols gained a little bit there, whereas C has typically been faster upwind. So Nichols looked like they were a little bit more bowed down on that other tack. And they were able to gain from it, which before they've been going the opposite way. So maybe they've gone in and looked at where are we losing out and managed to adjust to it.
I think one thing in this now chop, and I'd be interested in what you both think. You see how relatively separated Sienna's team are. The weight is not concentrated quite as closely as C's team is, which I would think in the SEAS Cs it would be better to have the weight right in the middle of the boat, right cramped together.
One would think.
One would think.
Well, what do we know?
What do we know, indeed. That's the way I always sailed in lump. But she's doing okay here.
Yeah, she's doing great.
This is going to be a good run, though. Within 2 boat lengths here. See if he gets a good set, it's going to be right on top and really attacking on this downwind.
Well, perfect ley line. In this situation, the boat behind almost always loses a half boat length at least, just because you're trying to stay above them to keep your air clear, while the boat ahead can aim right at the mark and go fast. Okay, let's see what the sets are like.
Good set ahead.
Yep.
Ooh. Very low.
Oh, look at that.
That's a good move there. It's dialed in and they can...
Oh, look at this.
Real good job. And a little wrap on C's boat there.
She should not have jibed back. Now she's in trouble.
Yeah, now she's going to have to jibe again. Yeah, that was a mistake.
I think that once you see the wrap, you need to just really extend out.
Yep.
But
well, still, right now, the crew works everything. So see who can get their chute full first. And it looks like it's Sienna. Not by much, though. But she'll have a hard time rolling him from here. Yeah, that was a mistake, Tom. That was... But initially, a great move. The second move was not so great. All right, she's clear ahead,
so
which is good.
C is preventing the jibe, though. So she's clear ahead, but she cannot jibe and clear. I think if she were to jibe, her main would end up hitting C's kite.
No, I agree, but she's soaking really well. She's forcing him down. Okay. Oh, look at this. She did the jibe.
Okay, and the fact C jibed implies that he thinks that she was going to make that.
Yep, exactly. Boy, and a great jibe. I mean, and look at that. Dylan C's jibe is not so good. That's worth, 3/4 of boat length right there.
However,
so he's trying to climb her air.
However, in context of clean air as well, it's worth 3/4 of a boat length from the jibe, but it's also worth not losing 2 boat lengths in dirty breeze from the other boat. So massive jibe there that was executed perfectly.
Okay, now Dylan C trying to soak. Soaking basically meaning going lower on the leg, perhaps sometimes lower than what the optimal VMG or velocity made good is.
And therefore slower.
And therefore slower.
He's going to go right on her air.
Yep.
So he and
Simon jibes, good for her.
Very hard for C to get enough distance here to actually execute a roll. He might be able to get even, but to get ahead is going to be very hard.
Well, especially when she's jibing at the right time. I mean, that was classic.
Okay, they're coming into the gate at the end of the second leg.
So one thing about the gate, when you're very close downwind, the 2 boats, does, give at least an opportunity for the trailing boat to separate and not have to go upwind for the first part in the dirty air of the other boat. But if one of them is more favored, then you can't do that. It looks like they are going to split here.
And I think right moves by both there. Protect the right if you're ahead, and then get the separation and hope that that right didn't work out.
Yeah, otherwise she would have. Or he would have had to be in her disturbed air the whole time. Do we have that one of the graphics of the wind shadow?
And good job just to tack over early. Both boats tacking to come back. Like C trying to get going, and Nichols just trying to close down the gauge.
She's got a nice lead.
Yeah.
Go back and protect the right.
Yeah, and a good enough lead to tack on his air. And that's the key. So it doesn't have to be a huge lead, and actually to throw the disturbed air on the trailing boat, being a little close is not a bad thing. Well, we seem to be getting the finals we expected.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the time, and assuming Nichols wins, which is a huge assumption on my part. So, but I just want to think ahead. If she wins and ties us up 2-2, we're only 20 minutes.
Oh no!
From the 2:30, the 14:30 deadline, and if we're up against that, I will be considerably critical of U.S. Sailing's Crutonic rule.
Especially because, as we've discussed, Tom, the flights, you either fly out at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, or you fly out at 11.
In a red eye.
In a red eye. So it's not like you're gaining any great advantage by stopping at 2:30.
Exactly. That's the northeastern, East Coast centric U.S. Sailing, again, not understanding how things necessarily work around the country.
Tom and Chris Bretschker, I think with some of these comments, Tom, I think we'll be relieved of having to do this ever again for a Rose Cup.
Good. No, this is fabulous. I'm enjoying every minute.
Well, actually, probably nobody at U.S. Sailing is watching anyway. So.
Well, I think they probably are, and they will watch it in replay as thousands. Or we had over 6,000 views last night.
That's pretty exciting.
By this morning of yesterday's 6 hours, almost 6 hours on the air. 6,000 views, pretty good, Chris Bretschker. Huh?
Okay, big split here.
Yeah, looks like Nichols has got a right-hand shift right on that right-hand side.
Yeah.
However, looks a little bit down pressure, so, kind of it depends. Are they able to get the bow down and get going, or are they just slightly too underpowered? Looks like they're getting it going and able to really extend in, maybe 3 lengths ahead to the top.
She's still leading, maybe gained.
Yeah, I'm just not a fan of that big a split when you're ahead.
But you see there, just these waves building up. She just had a few waves there, ate a few of them, and maybe lost a boat length of hull speed.
Boy, that's that was dangerous.
And this duck is very dangerous here, because if C's able to just extend quickly here, then if he enters the zone, he has mark room here.
Yeah.
So he can.
Not sure he's going to lay
he's
though.
Not laying.
But he can tack, and Nichols has to avoid
because
he is overlapped
inside. She can cross
inside.
him if he tacks. This could be the race right here.
She's going to lay, and
if she lays and he doesn't, that's the race.
I'm not sure Nichols is laying here.
I'm not sure she's laying either. Nope, she's not.
So there, anytime you let a boat cross behind you within a boat length, you've got to assume you're behind.
You were right.
We've just had a lead change.
I think Nichols had to do the defensive lee bow there, like she'd been doing on all the other ones.
Yep.
And C's going to take his time, make sure his bowman can get set, get a good hoist, and hopefully get, for his point of view, get from half a boat length to a boat length, and a half clear.
But boy, this is quite a race. So another lead change.
So C leading away, less than half a bow length in it.
Great sets by both.
This is all on how the crew work goes through these jibes and how the crew work extends through this. And positioning is only so much of it.
Love to have a heart monitor on everybody right now, Tom. Yeah.
So Nichols here positioning slightly low, so she's not going to try and attack on this jibe. And as soon as C goes for a jibe, she's going to simo jibe on top, and hopefully, from her point of view, throw disturbed air down onto C's kite. And C is hoping for the exact opposite, that he's able to do a hot jibe, surfing on this wave, and be able to extend away and get through and get clear breeze. If C's kite starts collapsing out of this jibe, advantage Nichols. If it doesn't, advantage C.
Well said.
She's heated back up. She's
yeah, she was starting to slow down there.
Yeah, you saw she just lost from being half a boat length astern to maybe a boat length and a half now.
So that's what I was saying earlier about VMGs. By sailing higher, you go a little faster. By sailing lower, you sail less distance. But what the ideal VMG is a perfect meld between those two. And now she's admitting by that move that I'm behind and I need to do something different.
See, I like this from Nichols here because she's going to be able to jibe back soon, and then C's going to have to jibe and come, and she's going to be able to choose when she jibes on C here. So she can do 2 jibes here and place on top of C here. Not a great jibe there from C.
No. This is the 4th and final leg. They're going into the finish. The 2 orange gate marks mean nothing. They're going to the committee boat, and the yellow mark to the downwind right of the committee boat. And again, C is up 2-1 in this final match, as you can see at the bottom of your screen.
Only 150, 200 yards to the finish here, so running out of time to get the overtake. If I was Nichols, I'd have jibed back by now and tried to throw some disturbed air.
Yeah, I don't think I would have jibed quite as soon. But what she's trying to do is what I was saying in the last race. She's trying to extend the race, basically get back in the middle of the course. Hopefully, both boats have to jibe a couple more times because you never know, something could happen. And I think she's picked up a little bit here. She came down with a bit of breeze, but not enough.
They're both soaking. They're both sailing very deep now, and C's going to win this.
Yeah.
I think there you've got C pinned on a ley line. There's nothing he can do. Just do a double jibe on and just give him some disturbed air.
At this point, if I was C, I would just continue on. He's got this one. He's got a better angle here. She's going to have to jibe and come over.
Yeah,
and look at that. He's surfing. He's got a nice wave. Well, Dylan C., the United States Youth Match Racing Champion for the Rose Cup. Well done. Well done.
Bravo Zulu to Dylan C.
Bravo Zulu.
Newport Harbor Yacht Club. He qualifies, he and his team. Wonder how many of his team he'll bring to Gov Cup. But Dylan C., Kaya Hancock, Anton Schmidt, and Michael Sentovich, Newport Harbor Yacht Club 2025 United States Youth Match Racing Champions. Pretty low key there. Another day, another yacht race, it looks like. And the runners up, maybe we'll see them in Gov Cup too, but certainly sooner or later.
You will see them. Both boats will be in the Governor's Cup.
Sienna Nichols, Maddie Nichols, Kai Brennan, Eddie Kleem, representing the Balboa Yacht Club, will take the silver medal, the runner-up position here at the Rose Cup.
Well sailed to both. That was classic match racing. Don't you think, Tom and Matt? I think that was a great exhibition of really, high-level match racing.
Yeah, and I think there as well, also, not just being able to execute the boat handling, Dylan C. used the rules to his advantage to get that gain at the top there.
Yep.
So not only was it good boat handling, good sailing, it was real good use of the manipulating the rules to be in your advantage.
Well, I'm going to wrap it up in a moment here, but I want to thank our television crew led by Chris Bretschker. We had Kenneth Sherb, Orange Sherbert, our crack spotter and statistician. One of the main. I mean, without Ken, we'd be more Crutonic than we usually are. David George, Colin Kennedy, Tyler Wolk, and Brian Barker flying drones. 4 drones, Chris Bretschker. Well done. Jeffrey Peterson was commentating as well yesterday. He didn't join us today because he's also coaching. Dylan Bartell, who's the AD, the assistant director, a newbie here on our team, an audio expert as well. Trevor Gurley.
They did take a swim.
Did they jump?
Yep.
The traditional Gov Cup jump now extended to the Rose Cup.
I don't think all of them jumped, but close. Anyway, go ahead, Tom. Sorry.
Well, no, the jumping's more fun than talking about the bloody TV team. Christine Gribben, also part of our team, also the chair of the regatta. Hayden Woolcraft Services here with us on the boat, part of the TV team. And my co-commentators, Andy Rose, Matt Whitfield, and more.
Did you get all our drone drivers?
I did.
They were awesome. I got to congratulate the drone work this weekend. This close-up stuff was just spectacular. And, you know, we have had before for Governor's Cup a roving boat that takes pictures. Some of the drone stuffs were close up enough it felt like it came from a roving boat, only, as you had said, Tom, only steady.
Well, you had a drone on a boat today, didn't you? Did you have one of the yeah, he had a drone, a camera actually.
All right, great.
Which is a nice way to do it. Our chief umpire, Katie Maxon, and her team, thank you very much. I didn't see a bad umpire call.
No, I didn't
There probably
either.
are one or two, but, the great job they do. They're out here bouncing around for 3 days straight, and it's a tough job, but well done by Katie and her team. PRO, Principal Race Officer, Dr. Pamela Kreiser, is also a director of Balboa Yacht Club on our board of directors. Much appreciated to her and her team. Father Greg Newman, who's the chief bosun, keeping the boats operating properly. Thank you to Chris's parents for giving us adios. To Staff Commodore Peter Bretschker and Kari. To Ryan Davidson, another Balboa Yacht Club and Gov Cup alum, who is the chair of the U.S. Sailing's Youth Match Racing Committee. And unless I've missed somebody, Andy, Matt, Christine Gribben, the CFL, the chair for life, who chairs the Gov Cup and has chaired Rose Cup, and also a director of Balboa Yacht Club. Final thoughts, Matt?
I mean, great racing. Exciting. These two people in the final are going to be at Gov Cup again. Exciting to see them race again. And I think, over the course of the weekend, both Nichols and C were probably the two best competitors in a strong field. And C ended up winning the round robin and the finals. So been strong all week, and I think a deserved winner. And yeah, I think both of them will be very competitive in a month at the Governor's Cup.
And Andy, they're both in Gov Cup because Sienna has already been chosen by resume. So she's already in. And then Dylan C., by virtue of him winning the Rose Cup, is also going to be racing in a month's time, 4 weeks' time at Gov Cup. Andrew?
Yeah, last year at Gov Cup, both Dylan and Sienna sailed and got 11th and 12th. They will not be getting 11th and 12th this year.
I suspect
that
you're
would
right.
be my prediction. It's really will be tough to win the Governor's Cup with returning champion Cole Tapper and two of the U.S. stars both of whom are representing the United States in the Youth Worlds. Justin Callahan and
Cole Tapper.
Cole Tapper, the defending champion,
Yep.
and then Mr. Pinckney from Newport Harbor Yacht Club.
Morgan.
It's going to be tough. I mean, it's going to be tough competition. So I guarantee they won't be at the bottom of the fleet.
Commodores, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us here at the 2025 Youth Match Racing National Championship. And to everybody involved, we hope to see you and everybody watching. See you in 4 weeks' time for the Gov Cup when Gov Cup TV takes to the air again. In the meantime, so long from Newport Beach, California.